Homeowners criminals are targeting your equity, so you need to check your home's title right now. Just use promo code BILL at HomeTitleLock.com to get a free title history report, plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 title monitoring, urgent alerts, and if fraud should happen, they will spend up to $1 million to fix it. So please go to HomeTitleLock.com, use promo code BILL today. On this Wednesday, our guest commentator today is Prescott Clueless, who has been reporting the news on television for years, but isn't really an original thinker. Therefore, he's just what the corporate media wants and needs. Prescott will analyze President Trump's soft poll numbers. Well, thanks, Bill. It's an honor to address your audience. You know, at the end of the day, it's not about kicking the can down the road. The president has started a trade war because he believes that will help the economy. It is what it is, and we'll have to wait and see. In the meantime, let's take a deep dive into some of these numbers. By the way, they are not good. In fact, they are bad. But the goalposts are moving, so anything could happen. If that does happen, the day's end might be a happy one, or maybe not. We'll see. What we've already seen is the polls, which show that Americans are concerned about the economy, which, by the way, is being affected by tariffs, although I'm not sure how and why. Again, it is what it is, because if it were not, then it wouldn't be happening. Perhaps things will get better. We'll have to wait and see. Well, I am glad I could introduce Prescott Clueless to all of my listeners. He is what he is. Back after this. Take your health into your own hands with All Family Pharmacy. They have more than 200 medications, including ivermectin. Forget waiting rooms, pharmacy lines. Just order online and get delivery straight to your door. More than 100,000 Americans trust All Family Pharmacy, and you should too. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use promo code BILL10 for 10% off. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. For more news and honest analysis, please go to BillO'Reilly.com. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Some more showers and thunderstorms develop towards sunrise on Wednesday with a low 57 degrees. Nothing severe, but still some rain in the morning. That moves on, and then 75 in the afternoon. But it's a First Alert weather day as we're on guard for a strong to severe storm late day into the evening on Wednesday. A warm front's coming to town that could spark a strong storm or two. On Thursday, it's a cold front coming to town. Some scattered storms, especially the afternoon to evening with a high of 76. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. What's happening today? Here's your first dose of the news you need to know. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on NewsTalkSTL.
From time to time, you hear us talk about, well, what are the unintended consequences? And sometimes that sounds real wonky and, academic and that sort of thing, but it doesn't always present itself right away. Let me give you an example. We're going to talk about this a little bit later on. The existence of Narcan, somebody overdoses and you spray the thing or you inject them and it brings them right back and undoes the overdose. You may say, what's there to debate? There are clearly no unintended consequences. But are there? Now the question's being raised with the availability of these sort of anti-overdose drugs. Are some people now feeling more emboldened to make even more reckless life decisions? That question's now reaching a statewide level, at least on the Missouri side, but it applies everywhere here in the News Talk STL listening area. I think it's fascinating. I'll tell you who's saying what about it, and we'll get your thoughts on that. Good morning, Mike Ferguson here. Hey, we're halfway through the week. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of this Wednesday. Missouri legislature, just a few weeks left in their session. Some really good stuff's been done this year. So I think we can say that the Republicans have delivered on some things, but they've got the ability to deliver on a lot more of that to-do list that we, the voters, gave them last November. Justin Sparks, state representative, joined us on Tuesday's program and kind of gave us the lay of the land on where things are and, frankly, why they're there. Here's what he had to say.
But we still have some big stuff out there that's kind of hanging there. And at some point, you have to start looking at the countdown on the clock and go, we need to up the urgency. What are the things right now, like whether it's school choice or some of these tax cuts or whatever it is, the Amendment 3, fix, which I know has made it through a lot of areas. What are the things we need to be really kind of concerned about if we need to start leveraging people?
Great question, and you're exactly right. It's like when we look at every single session for years and years and years, we see the same pattern repeat itself. Why are we waiting to the last couple of weeks of session to try to push through the Republican platform priorities that the Missouri voters year after year after year say that they want to get done? It's the same things that politicians tell you at your front door that they're going to get done, that they're going to go up there and fight for. And then when they get here, they realize that maybe that's not really the case, right? And so yet again, here we are trying to get the most important things done. We're trying to protect life. We're trying to pull an egregious amendment out of the Constitution that got there because of our failure to reform the initiative petition process. All of these things are completely avoidable. There is no excuse for them, and there is a place that we can lay at the doorstep the reason for why this happens. It's called Republican leadership, and it pains me to say that, but guys, there's no other reason. There's no other excuse. Republicans are in control. We have supermajorities in both houses. Whatever we want to get done should, in fact, get done. And so while it is frustrating, to say the least, I am still very hopeful that before the end of this session, we are, in fact, going to push those priorities over the finish line.
Yeah, because when you get to obviously where the Senate is, I mean, the Democrats have a different tool with the filibuster. But the reality is that if the Republicans want to just bust through that, they could do it. They just obviously don't want to do that a lot. The House has actually been kind of impressively functional this year, despite the fact that we have somebody who's speaker who's not really conservative at all.
It's funny you say that. I've been happy to see that. And that was the whole reason I ran for Speaker of the House against him, was because I had seen his obviously his history of behavior, the way he voted, his own personal convictions. And I knew that when it came to Amendment 3 and the unrestricted, unregulated abortion and transgender surgery for minors, that it just couldn't stand. And as a result, of course, we were able to get the vast majority of the Republican caucus on the same page that was, in fact, going to be our number one priority. And we, in fact, did pass it. Now, the Speaker voted against it, but he did not stand in the way of it, which I very much appreciate. And so we have passed that, and we have sent it over to the Senate. We've done the same with the Second Amendment Preservation Act. Now we need the Senate to get on the ball and to get these things done.
Producer Jerome speaking now with Justin Sparks. So I think it's very clear to our listener base that if anybody knows how the game is played behind the scenes, it's definitely you. But one of the things that I think on our end as non-government, without having that access to there, is that a lot of people are feeling frustrated saying, well, we elected you, we voted for you, you said you were going to do this, and now you're not pushing hard enough. So for our end of things, what are some ways that we can ensure that our elected officials are actually representing us the way they promised to? Is it a matter of us just not showing up enough? Is it not enough letters being written, or is it just being ignored by our elected officials anyways?
Well, it's actually twofold. So, of course, keeping your elected officials accountable and actually communicating them, whether it's in person or via email or phone, is incredibly important. And they do pay attention to that. They really do. But the second part of that is a very much lesser known, is who are Republicans electing as their leadership? It's just as important, because leadership in both chambers control all legislation. And so if those two people in both chambers can be influenced by many very well-funded corporate interests, then that's why you constantly see certain bills get passed and other good ones fail. It's just the reality of the nature. So, right. So what is so important is not only should you be paying attention to who your representative is and how they're voting, you should be paying attention to who they're voting for leadership. Who are they voting to make the most powerful people that are going to control all legislation in the state of Missouri? That's unbelievably important.
Yeah, the follow up on that, Representative Justin Sparks, is that's been one of the most bizarre things in all the years that I've covered, the legislature, is that I get so often from good conservatives and good people like libertarian. I mean, we're talking constitutionalists. I get the sort of look at the ground, kick the shoe and go, oh, shucks, Mike, you just don't understand. It's just bigger than that. Because my question is, wait a minute, what kind of person Caleb Rowden is when he was in the legislature.
That's right.
You know that.
That's right.
Why was he elected unanimously? Well, Mike, you just don't understand. I'm like, you're right. I don't. Explain it to me why nobody is willing to challenge it. Then tell me the system's bigger when you chose to not vote against it, or say conservatives gave us a mandate. How is the system bigger than this? And to this day, I hit, maybe it's because I'm not there. I've never been elected to anything above alderman. And so I'm not there, but they just say, well, Mike, it's just how it goes. Well, why? Explain. You're free to vote who you want. You proved that with your race for speaker, but there were a lot of people they were more annoyed that you were putting the spotlight on the corruption than they were actually who won. I mean, that's really what it was all about.
That's exactly right. I love how you just put that. They were annoyed. Some of them were annoyed, and some of them were just outright furious. And here's the thing. I understand, like these folks come up here originally, before they become institutionalized, because that's what happens. And they want to do the right thing. They come up here for the right reasons, and then they get up here and they realize, oh my gosh, leadership is chosen. There's going to be 2, maybe 3 people that are going to be basically presented to us for voting for leadership. And it's not really an open, fair process. And let me tell you something, Missouri, this is not unique to Missouri. This is how it is all over the country. This is how it's been in Washington, D.C. for a very long time. There's nothing new. It's not free. It's not open. It's not fair. Okay. So when they get here, they're like, okay, I have a decision to make. I either stand against the tide and basically be ostracized and put out on an island by myself. And nobody really enjoys that unless you're a sociopath. Or I can go along with the system and try to work within it and do the very best I can. It might not be very much. It might be incremental change, but maybe I can do some good. But I've got to be inside the system in order to change it. And I understand the argument, but here's why I decided to step outside the system and go against the tide. Because I don't believe that whenever you do get inside that system, you never end up making change. Instead, what happens? You become part of it. You become part of the system, and that's exactly what it's designed to do, because we have term limits, and 8 years goes by in the blink of an eye, and all of a sudden you're on your 8th year, and you realize none of what you actually came up here to do got done, and in fact, you became part of the problem, and oh, darn it, it's too late, you're gone.
So then in the last couple of minutes we've got here, we're visiting with State Representative Justin Sparks. What can still get done? Because I still actually am holding out a lot of, I am not declaring this session a loss. I think there's some good things that have been done. I'm still bewildered that we don't have universal school choice in a state that's so Republican. I mean, I understand it's the rural Republicans that are blocking it. I get it, because they're kind of beholden to the local school districts who scare the crap out of them with funding and whatnot. So what are the things that are still on the can-do list that we can get done in the next 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, or whatever it is?
Yep. So here's the 3 priorities that must get passed. A full repeal of Amendment 3. It's on the Senate side. A fix to the Second Amendment Preservation Act. It's already in the Senate. And a fix to the minimum wage workers' compensation piece that passed. That is literally threatening to close thousands of small businesses across the state. All 3 of those things are massive Republican platform priorities, and all 3 should be and must be passed. I do believe that we will see progress on all 3. This is why we get elected. This is the hard things. We have to do it. It's come now to the very end of session, just like it always does. But yet I still have hope that the Senate is going to do exactly what needs to be done, and they're going to get it done and across the finish line.
All right. I'd love to get an update and reflection on this right after the session ends, Justin. So I'm going to be texting you again sometime.
Sounds good. Have a great day, guys.
All right, let's talk. As always, 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and NewsTalkSTL.com.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new NewsTalkSTL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 2 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-6766. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Human trafficking is occurring right here in Missouri. You can help combat it by learning the signs of human trafficking and reporting suspicious activity to law enforcement. Victims may appear malnourished, show signs of mental or physical abuse, or avoid social interaction. If you're a victim or know someone who needs help, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text the word HELP to Be Free. Together, we can fight human trafficking in Missouri.
Brought to you by the Missouri Attorney General's Office. I don't know where to start with Medicare. It's so confusing.
Feeling overwhelmed by Medicare? The Westoff Agency is here to help.
Hi, I'm Debbie Westoff with Westoff Agency. We have helped hundreds of people just like you navigate Medicare options.
Our team of experts makes the process simple and stress-free.
Let me, Debbie Westoff, be your personal Medicare guide, walking you through each choice to find the coverage that truly fits.
Visit westoffagency.com for more information. That's westoffagency.com.
Remember those magical moments in Mom's kitchen? The heavenly aroma of fresh baked cookies? At Trolley Stop Bakery in Chesterfield's Forum Shopping Center, our co-op of talented bakers has been perfecting that homemade magic for 4 decades. From the gooeyest cookies in town to custom pies, cobbler's, and cakes, everything's made from scratch, just like Mom and Grandma's recipes. Need that perfect corporate gift? We ship our famous cookies nationwide. The Trolley Stop Bakery, 67 Forum Shopping Center, or TrolleyStopBakery.com. Because some traditions are too sweet not to share.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You know, we don't always get to start off with some good news, but I'm going to do that here in just a second. Ooh, yeah. Very. I mean, it's from a tragic situation, but at least it's good news. We'll get there. By the way, our I always want to promote it. Our social media, that's Facebook and everything. It's funny because Facebook didn't want us to be able to advertise, and their algorithms under previous years have really tried to hold conservative media back as much as they possibly could. Oh, yeah. So, now Zuckerberg is like, maybe I should let everybody compete in the level playing field now that I lost in the election. So yeah, please use that, leverage that, because, the algorithms, which I don't completely understand the way that Gabe does and the way Jerome does. But basically, the more that you get involved, the more we amplify your voice.
Yes.
Yeah. So that part I understand.
Yes. So it is very important for everybody that believes in what we do. And obviously out there are people that that need to hear this, but they're not going to find it on their own. So just give us a share, give us a like, help us annoy Zuckerberg and his cronies.
Yeah, precisely. Yep, precisely. Yep. So do that. And of course on X and then Instagram, just look up News Talk STL. One word, and you'll find us and get involved there. Of course, Rumble's a great place as well to get involved in that conversation. Okay, so back in August, Ferguson police officer Travis Brown, TJ Brown,
Yes.
suffered that traumatic brain injury at the hands of some of these Michael Brown inspired BLM type protesters.
Thugs.
Yeah, absolute monsters. And so he was in a coma for months, as you remember. Well, his family is now reporting that he's been able to say a few words. He's actually been able to talk, which they did not expect was going to be able to happen. He's only 37 years old. He's in a very specialized medical treatment facility now, and he's also apparently able to operate his own motorized wheelchair.
That's awesome. I
It
mean, it's
really
not
is.
awesome.
I mean, yeah, because it's a tragic situation.
Yes.
So it's like, it's awesome from where we thought he was going to be. I mean, it's still angering and tragic because of what's happened with, what happened with his life at the hands of these just absolutely horrible excuses for human beings.
Yeah, there was absolutely no reason that what happened to him had to have happened to him. And honestly, if there's a way for me to send him a get well card or something, just show him some support and some love, I would. Yeah,
you probably could send it to the Ferguson Police Department. I mean, they're obviously keeping quiet where he is for privacy reasons, for obvious. But yeah, they would. I'm sure they would get to him. And what's I mean, he's in Atlanta. We know that. But this is a situation where so needless, and this is what's happened when we've accommodated this left-wing thuggery violence, and we've tolerated it. And this is what happens when policy and what happens with politicians matters, because it sets the tone down the line.
Yes. And I mean, forgive me for being a little too libertarian here, but I mean, there are some cops out there that should not be on the police force. Obviously,
good cops will tell you that.
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
This is not one of those cases. So just when I've been following this since I found out about it, and quite literally, they were allowing the people that were still mad about Mike Brown, the thug, getting killed. And the cops were like, "Hey, we will help you, and we'll block off some roads so you can do your march, your protest, all that stuff." And somebody took it upon themselves to go out of their way to shove him down, and he hit his head really hard.
Right.
But it's like he's not one of the ones that you're mad at.
Right.
If any cop out there, from what I've heard from testimonials from people on the force and from people in this community, if there was one person you do want being a cop, it's him. And then look at how you treat him.
Right. Yeah. And then exacerbates the us versus them thing. So, but at the very least, he's going to, there's still hope that he can have more, of some kind of life. He'll have to be assisted the rest of his life. And so I say people, I mean, these are basically a
barbarians,
baby step above animals who did this to him. They're still, facing trial and hopefully locked up for the rest of their lives as well. But Travis Brown, making some kind of progress, more so than we thought he was ever going to make. So I just want to start. That's some good news, right?
Yeah, that warms my heart a bit.
Okay, so we talked about this proposal in Missouri to ban underage marriage last week. I've got an update for you.
Oh.
So that's part of a great big bill that has to do with like children's issues, everything from kids in foster care and tax credits for different things, this sort of thing. But the measure in there that would make it illegal for anybody under the age of 18 to be married in Missouri, that has now passed. So it's passed both chambers of the House. One Republican voted against it. Still, Mike Moon, again, who's right about a lot of stuff. He's really, really conservative, but this has been like his thing, trying to preserve underage marriage in Missouri, or access to it, which is just so bizarre. And at some point it's like, come on, man, this is creepy.
Yeah, that is still not a hill that I'm willing to die on.
I mean, I do. Why? And then, when this was passed in the House a week or two ago, the couple of the men who, were really adamant about keeping that part of it out of the law. They walked out of the chamber in order to not have their vote against it recorded, I guess, for posterity. Mike Moon, to his credit, stayed in there and cast the only vote against this in the Senate. So overwhelming support. This is going to Governor Kehoe's desk. I suspect the governor will sign that into law. I guess you can still go petition a court if you really want to get married underage. And, again, if there's a 17-year-old who's a, senior in high school or graduating, and, their fiance is getting ready to ship off for military, so there may be some bizarre 1 in a million cases out there, but essentially these guys were arguing, no, we need to keep it legal to get married underage. Even if you're only, 16 years old. Mike Moon at one point a year or two ago literally said, do you know anybody who is married at 12? I do. And they're still together. And it's like, dude, shut up. Seriously.
I just don't like the state being involved in marriage.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But, that's at some point you got to draw a line for an age of majority somewhere. And every culture does it a little bit differently. But this is just so weird. So Governor Kehoe now has that bill.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Springtime in St. Louis, and if you hate to paint, do what your neighbor, Mr. Rob Miller from Harvesttown Auto Body in St. Peters did. He called Rhino Shield. Rob, what was the thought process for going with Rhino Shield as a business owner?
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted.
Rob, tell everyone how the experience was with Rhino Shield from start to finish.
The process that I liked was when you came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. Our building was really faded. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
Are your neighbors jealous?
I would be if I was them.
Thanks, Rob. Now it's time to call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. Genius.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Jeffco Patriot Radio. Coming up this week on Jeffco Patriot Radio, David Robertson back on for a huge announcement. Plus, a special bonus guest, local TikToker Kristen Saller, a.k.a. Cray Cray, a.k.a. me. Jeffco Patriot Radio.
On News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clay, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. We haven't seen anything yet. That from President Trump celebrating the first 100 days of his second term with a campaign-style rally last evening in Warren, Michigan.
The president declared the start of his second term has been consequential.
In 100 days, we have delivered the most profound change in Washington in nearly 100 years.
He focused a great deal on immigration and border security.
We have achieved the most secure border in American history.
The president also touted his economic policies, even though polls show Americans are worried that the Trump tariffs will lead to higher prices. Greg Clugston, Washington.
And the president's relaxing some of his 25% tariffs on cars and car parts. Mr. Trump says it will give automakers some more time to move production into the U.S. Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn of Tennessee says some industries may need temporary relief during the Trump tariff transition.
Senator Blackburn says she supports the president's strategy.
President Trump is using tariffs to get people to the negotiating table.
In the short run, however, Blackburn says the battle poses a threat to vital supply chains for industries in her state.
Several areas that are going to need some type temporary relief.
Blackburn says the goal of the president's tariffs is to reinvigorate U.S. manufacturing, bolster the economy, create higher-paying jobs, and eventually lower the cost of living. Bob Agnew reporting.
To counter the president's 100-day victory lap, Democrats engaged in speech-making at the Capitol, decrying what they say 100 days of anxiety-inducing turmoil. Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan suspended by the Wisconsin Supreme Court. She is accused of helping a man to evade immigration authorities. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures are up 29 points. NASDAQ futures 84 points in the red. More on these stories at townhall.com.
The following is not an actor, but a real-life story from Trinity Debt Management.
I'm Claire from Trinity Debt Management. I'm a counselor, and the reason that I love working for Trinity is because I get to help folks with one of the hardest problems a family can face, and that's financial difficulties. In this day and age, everything is going up. You have higher utilities, higher grocery bills, higher fuel, and those credit card interest rates have gone up as well. We can help you with that. We can help you get lower interest rates, lower monthly payments. In just a few minutes, we put together a plan that gets you out of debt and keeps you out of debt. I love my job. It's a great program and a very smart way to find debt relief.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-990-6976.
I'm Claire, a Trinity counselor. Call me and become debt-free for keeps.
1-800-990-6976.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Some more showers and thunderstorms develop towards sunrise on Wednesday with a low 57 degrees. Nothing severe, but still some rain in the morning. That moves on, and then 75 in the afternoon. But it's a First Alert weather day as we're on guard for a strong to severe storm late day into the evening on Wednesday. A warm front's coming to town that could spark a strong storm or two. On Thursday, it's a cold front coming to town. Some scattered storms, especially the afternoon to evening with a high of 76. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Jewels on Hampton, paying some of the highest prices for your gold, silver, diamonds, and more. Call 314-752-5000 or visit jewelsonhampton.com.
I'm so tired of my water smelling like rotten eggs. Iron foul. It makes my clothes and home smell, and my sink and faucet look dirty. I'm calling Jones Air and Water Treatment for their solution to this pollution.
Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to your pollution. Call now for your free water analysis at 636-899-1040 and live with clean, great-tasting water. That's 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
Attention St. Charles, looking for a local spot that satisfies all your cravings? Mario's Donut Restaurant is your place to go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From mouth-watering sandwiches and omelets to delicious gyros, Mexican dishes, salads, and wraps, we've got it all. And don't forget our famous donuts. They're so good, they'll make your eyes glaze over. Dine in or carry out. Our friendly staff is ready to serve you with love and care. Mention News Talk STL when you visit. Call 636-447-4515 or visit mariosdonutrestaurant.com.
On the next Larry Connors USA.
California Democrat lawmaker wants to decriminalize welfare fraud. Seriously.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
We the people.
Gabe Phifer.
It's not rocket science. Rocket science.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up!
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
All right. The chaotic tariff talk continues with the president backing off another one, at least for now. Also, voters approved a bad idea, but the court does uphold it after the voters said yes to it. And the UFL slaps back against a player who smacked a fan in St. Louis.
Okay.
See what I did there?
I see.
See how I use the words like in the double entendre on that? You see that? Because I am a trained professional.
We'll try this at home,
right,
folks.
6:05 right now. Let's say we do ye old news dump.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news.
The morning news dump.
Okay, just a heads up on the weather today. Another round of rain's expected to move through the metro this morning. We could see some storms this afternoon. Now, our friends over at Channel 4, they're telling us that there's a chance of severe storms into the evening. The storms moving through basically through rush hour, probably not expected to be severe, but later on this afternoon and this evening, we could see a severe storm pop up. Rain is expected to continue through tomorrow, possibly into Friday as well. The bottom line is what's important is my game in O'Fallon, Illinois on Thursday is likely to be rained out. That's really what matters.
That's the actual consequence of any note that we should take care of. Yeah. Monsoon season continues apace in St. Louis.
Much, yeah. All right. President Trump backing off some of his 25% tariffs on automobiles and auto parts. Here's the story.
After hearing from auto CEOs worried about the negative impact of tariffs, the Trump administration is dialing back some of the import taxes on vehicles and parts. The president said it's a move giving automakers more time to move productions into the U.S.
I'm giving them a little bit of a break, right?
Automakers that finish their vehicles domestically will receive a 15% rebate this year, offsetting the cost of the tariffs. Greg Clugston, Washington.
I'm just still getting to the point where I'm like, you know what? This is way too much government micromanagement of an industry.
There's a lot. I don't like targeted tariffs.
Yeah,
that's one of those things. Interesting though that he mentioned the 25%. What did it
on parts and on the
no on the back end there was
there
was some sort of I guess it was government benefit or some sort of like credit on taxes or
rebate,
something. A rebate,
15% rebate to offset part of the 25% tariffs, but then
Okay.
he's pausing. So, I think Rand Paul is right when he says, you know what, constitutionally, Congress is the one that needs to be approving these because there's just so much yes, no, yes, carve out. I mean, it's just chaotic at this point.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, in business, you can have negotiations that do this kind of thing, but they usually happen in the background,
Right?
Because he is the president. Everything he says is public record. Everything he says is supposed to be up to public scrutiny. And seeing the sausage made is not conducive to stable markets when we're talking about deals being made with the president.
Right.
So it is very much a difference in style that I think that this is to the detriment of his presidency as opposed to usually his business acumen has been part of the positives.
Right. All right. The Missouri Supreme Court, speaking of business, the Missouri Supreme Court says Prop A stays. That means the minimum wage in the state will continue to rise to $15 an hour by next year, and employers are going to be required to provide paid time off for almost all employees. I think there's a couple like along the peripheral. There's a few exceptions here and there, but for the most part, everybody is going to be required to pay out any businesses basically an hour of PTO for every 30 hours worked, whether you're full-time or part-time. Multiple business advocacy groups sued to have the new law struck down, arguing that the cost estimate was wrong and that the ballot summary was misleading. The Supreme Court ruled differently. Voters approved the measure with 58% of the vote. And that's where, I mean, I don't have mixed feelings on Prop A because it was a really bad idea.
Oh, yeah.
And it is going to likely cause the closure of a lot of small businesses around the state.
Clearly.
Period. Just period. They can't afford to keep doing this. But 58% of the people voted on it. So the state legislature is actually working on a Prop A fix to negate some of these things. So the Supreme Court is not ruling on that. What they're ruling on are the claims from like the Chamber of Commerce and National Federation of Independent Businesses and some of those who were saying that the court should strike this down because the cost estimate and the summary were misleading and there was more than one topic involved is what they were arguing. The Supreme Court very, very hesitant to strike down anything approved by voters. And so the legislature can still, negate it with legislation, and then they have to answer to voters if people don't like it. But voters made a mistake, and the court basically said, hey, you made a mistake, live with. They didn't say it was a mistake, but they're like, live with what the result were.
Yeah, the process worked as it was supposed to. That was the ruling from the court. And I think we anticipated that this was going to be the ruling when we first saw this lawsuit come to light.
Yep. All right. Elon Musk expected to step down from Doge in May. That's after the agency has found cuts of about $160 billion from the federal government. But on a speech on the Senate floor against Donald Trump on the 100th day in office, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, did you know he was criticizing Donald Trump?
What?
Really? Yeah.
Chuck Schumer?
Yeah, Chuck Schumer
like
did.
that Chuck Schumer? No way.
He was criticizing the administration's firing of employees across the federal government.
Only an administration that exhibits a meanness, almost a viciousness, would do it. But that's what Trump, Doge, and Musk and all their henchmen who work there are doing.
I guess include
henchmen.
I was going to say, I guess include me on Team Doge henchmen. I mean,
it's funny. Well, the thing is, given all the the tech bros who kind of work at Doge, who kind of head up that stuff, and they're just kind of deep diving. They're a little autistic about it, things like that. It's like I know those kind of people. I'm a little bit those kind of people. Being called a henchman isn't necessarily a bad. It's like, I'll take that.
Right,
It's like, yes.
I'm like, somebody's printing the T-shirt right now.
May the darkness descend upon you, sir.
Oh, my goodness. So Musk's goal was to use Doge to cut $2 trillion from the federal government. President Trump is now saying he's considering having his cabinet take over Doge, which that's fine. I mean, I suspect that, because Doge found all kinds of things that they wanted to cut. Now, remember, Doge doesn't have the authority to actually cut anything.
Right.
And so Congress now needs to step up and make those cuts. And, $160 million $160 billion, significant, but believe it or not, with our federal government's budget, that's actually not that much compared to the overall budget. They need to cut more.
Well, yeah, I mean, given the $2 trillion goal, right? Yeah. I think $1 trillion was the small goal. $2 trillion was the stretch goal.
Yeah.
So they're still 10%. They're only 10% into their main goal of the $1 trillion cut. By what was the expiration date? I guess our
next July,
our 250th anniversary. Yeah. So they have a long way to go if they actually want to reach that.
Yeah. I've got a sinking feeling that Doge is going to kind of fade off into the sunset and not really have the effect that we thought that they could have.
That's what I'm worried about. Yeah. I was so excited by Doge because it just the fact that the federal government was actually going to look at the books. Mm-hmm. it was a great idea to me, and I really want them to follow through.
I do too.
But the further along we go, the more we see, and the more we get excited about the cuts that they could make. The more they seem to be backing off on it. I don't get that. It's like the public is, hey guys, we're on your side. Like, don't ignore the news and the crying federal workers. We don't care about them. Please actually do cut the government. And they're like, well, I don't know. It's like, you squishes. I hate you guys.
Is the swamp going to win this one? Is the establishment going to win? I mean, is that what it is?
Probably. I mean, if we're looking at this, the way that I'm interpreting it, at least, is that you have mass, quote unquote, hands-off protests going on. You have people specifically targeting the property of other individuals, now actually targeting the individuals themselves. And so I think that from a rational standpoint, if I'm the government, I'm saying, wow, this is obviously astroturfed, but the fact that this is happening, maybe we need to scale back because, as you mentioned, it's a populist government, and therefore they want as many people happy as possible. And if that means keeping off of government corruption and not going through and investigating for some reason, people are fine with that. But that's where I think we're at with Doge.
Could be. All right. A suspension is handed down for the slap heard round the dome. Michigan Panthers wide receiver Samson Nakua is suspended without pay for one game after slapping a fan last Saturday following their loss to the Battlehawks in St. Louis. The UFL says Nakua will also participate in community service events later this season. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but keep in mind that's 10% of his annual income.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and I said this when this story first came out. He's like, bro, you're not one of the $1 million players out there in the NFL who kind of shrugs at the penalties that can sometimes befall them. It's like, you know what? I'll take the penalty to get my end zone celebration out there because that's pocket change to them.
Right.
This is not pocket change for you.
No. Can you imagine losing 10% of your income?
Right off the top.
Right off there. Yep. All right. It is game night for the Blues with the playoff series tied at 2 games apiece. We're down to 3 games left in the series with the Jets. Tonight's game is in Winnipeg. It starts at 8:30. It is on ESPN. Cardinals and Reds got rained out in Cincinnati on Tuesday, so they're going to play 2 today. Makeup game is an early one, starts at 11:40 this morning. Miles Michaelis is going to start that one as planned. Later today, they're going to play again at 5:40. Both games are on FanDuel.
All at once depart, no destination, making cold my to fight your war.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Mike Ferguson. Gabe Phifer. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, Tim Jones here. For 50 years, St. Louis homeowners have trusted one name with their outdoor dreams, Hydro Dynamics. From custom irrigation systems to stunning outdoor lighting, from expert drainage solutions to beautiful hardscapes, they transform ordinary yards into extraordinary dreamscapes. With certified experts that work with you to bring your vision to life, delivering unparalleled service every step of the way. Ready to make your dreamscape a reality? Visit hydrodynamicscore.com. That's hydrodynamicscore.com.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Mom deserves something special this Mother's Day, and News Talk STL wants to help make it happen.
Come give your mama a kiss.
Register now for your chance to win amazing prizes for Mom, including gift cards from Di Gregorio's Italian Market, Jewels on Hampton, Anthony's Produce, and Harry J. Steakhouse.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Winners will be notified by email May 8, just in time for Mother's Day. Register now at newstalkstl.com or via the new News Talk STL mobile app. This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the Morning here on News Talk STL.
All right, this is interesting. Could be a lesson in unintended consequences. We throw that word around a lot because it's actually more of like an economic term, but it applies in so many different areas in policy.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Could the drug that saves lives during overdoses actually be inviting addicts to go harder?
Oh, geez. Oh, wow.
That question is being raised now. This is really interesting. I don't know if the answer is yes or no, but I think it's an interesting discussion here. It is 6:19 right now. Does St. Louis need $1 billion expansion of the metro?
No.
No. No.
At 6:30,
they need people.
Yeah. Yeah, really. At 6:35, find out why that idea is being stopped in its tracks.
Okay.
See what I did?
I see.
See what I did?
Yep.
That's two already. It's only
Man.
6:20 left. During that twice.
Man,
You're in a roll today.
Yeah. All right. At least just stop for right now.
Just
So we're
pop it
going to
off.
talk about that at 6:35. Okay. Narcan, naloxone. These are those drugs that you give somebody.
Yeah.
When they've overdosed.
It's the emergency drugs,
Right.
basically.
And it is most of the time basically a miraculous squirted up their nose or injected, whatever method of delivery that you happen to have handy. We know that it saves lives, and it's saved all sorts of lives. But could the rush to make it so freely available actually be making some people's recklessness worse? So the reason I found this article on MissouriNet, and the question is increased availability of naloxone enabling Missouri drug users to have higher highs? And so Missouri was one of actually the later states to basically say, you know what, we're going to distribute this thing basically freely. At some places, they're like putting it into, Narcan and this. They're putting
like
it into
free vending machines.
like vending machines. Yeah,
Mhm.
literally. And so during a House committee hearing, it came up that State Representative Becky Laubinger, who I've never met, asked if this availability is backfiring. And she's quoted as saying in this article, and in talking with neighbors who are drug users, they talked about Narcan has enabled them to have higher highs because they know they can be brought back with Narcan. So they arm their friends with the Narcan and take more drugs to get the higher high.
I can see that.
Yeah.
That falls in line with I don't think it's formally called this by anybody except me, but like helmet theory, where in the NFL, because of the, at the very beginning, they had the very thin, simple leather helmets.
Oh, yeah, for football.
For football,
yeah.
right? And then eventually, the football technology has got, or the protection technology has gotten very, very good. And now, they have these gigantic, super high tech, systems on their heads, basically. But the thing is that changed their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Football players were leading with the crown of their head all the time.
Right.
That led to the concussion crisis. So the thing is, if they didn't feel invincible with the giant, super helmet on their head and they just had the leather cap, they probably wouldn't have played the way that they did. That's why you don't see the same level of head injuries in rugby.
Yeah.
Because they have no protection. So
they've got no pads.
So they know, hey, maybe I shouldn't lower my head to try and hit this guy with the top of my head, because it's just my head. It's not a device. So in the same way, people who feel as though they have this added layer of protection, they get this false sense of invincibility, and then they go way too far.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the way that that's framed as though, I don't know, the way that came off was almost kind of like implying that it's causing people to do that more, rather than these people are already looking for ways to do that more. It just so happens that Narcan is the method that would allow them to do so.
Right.
It's not like if the Narcan wasn't available, they're not going to try to do large amounts of drugs. They're already doing large amounts of drugs.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But but the question is, are they going to go harder? Like, well, it's there. I mean, we'll give it to my buddy. If I OD, then bring me back and I'm all good.
It's a question of human behavior.
Right.
That's really what it is. As opposed to, like you said, it's not the Narcan's fault or the availability of Narcan that is causing this. It's just that its availability is changing human behavior because humans are stupid and we do things to hurt ourselves.
Yeah, because I've had a Narcan, people, and that's not a pleasant experience.
Well,
for anybody
apparently
involved.
it's an absolutely horrific experience
It
to
is.
come back. I mean, if you're the one who ODs, well, one, I would think the OD is horrific, but the Narcan, apparently it is an absolute, essentially, basically withdrawal syndrome, like all built into a few moments.
To my limited scientific understanding, you are going from one moment experiencing the effects of the drug, and then this is trying to cancel that out like immediately. So now it's just a sudden system shock. It's
in the reverse.
Yeah, it is crazy to watch somebody come back from that.
Because you've seen the debate over like the needle exchanges.
Oh yeah.
As well, because people are saying, well, you're just
clean needles. And
clean needles. Is it going to reduce HIV and hepatitis transmission? Probably. But you're just enabling it, and so that's really the question: is, are you enabling people to hurt themselves worse if they know it's there for free? And so the question was raised on that, and I said, my thought is, well, keep Narcan available, or Naxalone, naloxone, keep it available. But at some point, you do have to say, well, there are effects and impacts and unintended consequences of everything. So then, is there a way to deal with that? Because it actually is kind of logical that if somebody's in that stage to where they've gotten to that sort of addiction, where when this was described, I could say, well, I could see somebody going, I can go harder. I'll just give my buddy this, make sure they've got it, and then I'll try even more.
Well, I guess because I know that a lot of the folks I talk to on the conservative side, their view is very much, well, it's their choice and they need to suffer the consequences. But my proposal is just keep in mind to anybody that's not a fan of this or that thinks that Narcan should be removed from the market due to that. Would you rather have an addict or would you rather have a dead addict?
Right.
And that's really what it's going to come down to.
Yeah, and for instance, when marijuana was legalized recreationally, when that vote happened here in Missouri, I questioned. I said, are there going to be a bunch of people who are going to go out and suddenly say, I'm going to start doing marijuana because now it's legal? There's probably a few there's probably some who went out and tried it.
Oh yeah,
just because the novelty, of it.
Well, the increased revenue at these places,
Right.
And the fact that they popped up everywhere says yes, that happened.
Or was there a market already in place for it and people were just getting it from other sources? But there were probably some people who like, yeah, I'll try it. It's legal. Hee hee ha ha. And they went and experienced it. And there may be a few like, hey, I'll do this instead of alcohol or whatever the case is, or just tried it and like, yeah, not for me. So I'm sure that the availability probably, or the making it legal, probably not even tempted. I suspect somebody in that situation probably wasn't going to say, well, I would never do it. I am opposed to it. Oh, it's legal. Well, now I want to. I don't think people make decisions based on what's legal or not legal. I think that people make decisions on risk factors. And if there's not a risk of having consequences, well, I'll give it a shot now that it's legal.
Or lower consequences than they're comfortable with, essentially.
Right, precisely.
Yeah, I would argue definitely that, especially in the context of this, the amount of people that are going to intentionally amp up their dose specifically because they have somebody with Narcan next to them is a lot lower than the amount of people that might accidentally take too much.
Right.
Which again, I would love if there was a way to just get them not to do it in the first place.
Sure,
you know, that's
right.
but that's just something I want people to keep in mind when they hear the story.
Yeah, I mean, Narcan is, the state of Missouri gave out like 250,000 doses that were, just in our state alone, and I don't know what the numbers are in Illinois. I don't know what the numbers are in any other states. At some point, what they're going to have to do is say, okay, well, the availability probably is giving a layer of security and safety to people who are in this addiction. So, people are less worried about it. If they were more worried about it, back to your helmet example, Gabe, would people make more of an effort to break free of that and stop doing it, as opposed to, well, somebody can just bring me back because, I'm blessed enough to not have to deal with any addictions. But I am told that there's no way that a lot of us can really understand the mind of somebody who's an addict and doing something they know is going to hurt themselves.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to kind of put yourself in that position and kind of understand it. I mean, obviously there are people who can on some level, but crafting policy around it is tough.
It's very tough. Yeah. And so that's, I just thought was an interesting, because every time you make, we've talked about, the bill to ban underage marriage.
Yeah.
And stay with me here, because the last minute or so, we look at that and go, well, yeah, children shouldn't be getting married.
Yeah, obviously.
Especially when you look at the abuses, and at one point you've got lawmakers talking about, kids as young as 12. And, we had to pass a law a few years ago to say, no, at least 16, for crying out loud. Okay. Well, now there's a, it's going to the governor's desk. He's likely going to sign it. And we're like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Age of majority is age of majority. Every culture makes a decision somewhere as to where that is.
There's a line.
Are there going to be unintended consequences of it? Probably. Yeah. I mean, somewhere there will be some one-off or two-off situation out there that somebody didn't think of, and like, well, the law is the law, and this is, I don't know what that situation is going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's the whole point of unintended.
Right.
We can't account for everything, but you've got to make a decision on this. And when Narcan, we say, okay, we're going to make this readily available, basically for free to anybody. Taxpayers are going to pay for it. There are probably going to be some people who go, well, it's not as much of a risk. I'll keep going down this path.
Right.
The trade-off is we know that it has saved a number of lives.
Yeah. So it's like, and I'm just throwing numbers out. So it's like for every 10 people that you save, there's one who went really hard because they knew it was out there.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, sometimes the numbers work out that way, and you accept it. It's like, okay, the unintended consequences is this percentage of the outcome, but I'm happy with the larger percentage of the outcome.
The trade-off.
With the trade-off.
Right.
Exactly.
All right. Trade-off for $1.1 billion. We can have, an expanded Metrolink that probably doesn't really do anything economically for the city, but there's a trade-off. But
it's a big trade-off.
Mayor Carr Spencer says, you know what, put the brakes on that right now. Let's hold off on that for the time being. Does that mean the project's dead? No, but we're going to talk to our buddy David Stokes from the Show Me Institute about what's going on and what should be going on with that. That's just ahead here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
A cross between Socrates and Dirty Harry.
On News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Period.
periods of rain and storms today, including some wet times this morning, but no severe weather in the St. Louis metro this morning. Let's keep an eye on any storms that develop this afternoon and this evening, though. Hail, wind, and isolated tornado possible. Up into the low to mid 70s this afternoon in St. Louis, warmer to the south. So scattered rain and storms this evening and tonight, down to 62 for the low. More scattered storms tomorrow as a cold front passes through. Thursday's high 76. Finally, dry and very nice this weekend. That's your First Alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Military history buffs and collectors, attention. Looking for authentic military collectibles? Look no further than Alamo Military Collectibles, your one-stop shop for genuine military artifacts, firearms to uniforms, medals to memorabilia, pistols, rifles, bayonets, insignia, patches, helmets, field gear, and more. Both American and foreign pieces. We offer cash or consignment for your items. Alamo Military Collectibles. Visit us online at alamomilitary.com or call 314-638-6505 today.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC. Attention golf enthusiast. Berry Hill, your favorite 9-hole public golf course, is now open for the 2025 season. Tee off from 8 a.m. to sunset, with early 7 a.m. weekend hours starting in May. Test your skills on our diverse holes, join leagues, or take lessons from our pros. Planning a tournament? Check our website for the 2025 schedule and junior programs. And after your round, relax in our comfortable lounge. Call 314-731-7979 or visit bridgetonmo.com to book your tee time today.
What happens next?
Because of that Afghanistan withdrawal, we have damaged our credibility.
Happens right here.
He was texting war plans.
Nobody was texting war plans.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Good morning, St. Louis. Hey, it's Vince from The Vince Show right here on News Talk STL every weeknight at 8. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
All right, the project is projected to cost over $1 billion, at least this part of the project, and now St. Louis's new mayor puts a pause on it. So the question is going to be, what's next, if anything? By the way, Flashback Friday coming up this week.
Yes, get your requests in, like right now.
And it's kind of funny because I think who was it? Was it Jay Monty? Was it somebody? And somebody said, yeah, it was Jimmy. He goes, "I'll be shocked if Jerome knows any of the 6 that I just emailed."
Oh wow, okay, all right. So he's issuing the challenge.
Yes, to see we're going to make Jerome an '80s kid. One way or the other.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Retroactively, we're going to adopt him into the 80s.
Yes.
At some point there.
Yes, by immersion.
That's right. All right. There you go. Exactly. So I'll be curious as to what you think of whatever's picked this week. And that, to me, it's actually kind of the fun part is that I don't know what the bump music is until it plays on every Flashback Friday. I actually have a lot of fun with that.
Well, and that's one of the things I love the most is seeing both of your reactions to what I like. Oh yeah, I remember that song, or here's something about it, or
Yep. All right, so here's what's going on. There's a proposal for the Metro line to connect. This is north-south connection in St. Louis. Basically, it's called the Green Line Project, and so the original preliminary estimate is $1.1 billion for this particular project. And so we know how that tends to go with these government, public infrastructure transportation projects. The preliminary cost estimate is never the final cost estimate of it. We're joined now by David Stokes from the Show Me Institute, So we're talking, David, about what, basically a 5.5 mile long project, 10 stops. And Cara Spencer is essentially saying, hold on, I need some more information. It's not that unusual for a new mayor to put the pause on thing to gather details, but I know that you and the Show Me Institute are basically saying, hey, the good thing we put a pause on this is this because we need to understand more of it, or we need to make the argument that this isn't needed? Where are we within the discussion?
Well, first of all, great to be on the air with you, Mike. But right, this is, from my perspective, this pause is a great thing because if you can pause it, then you can stop it. I mean, St. Louis does not need this expansion, and this expansion will serve so few people at such a high cost. There's just no benefit to this. So hopefully, the new mayor, she's of course familiar with the project. It's been going on now. They've been talking about it for years, and they've started work on the design elements of it, a year ago. They've got a request in for federal funds in the neighborhood of, several $100 million, $700-800 million requested, and she's put a pause on it. Now, I don't know exactly what that means because according to the conflicting media reports, some of the work on the engineering is going to continue, at least in the short term. But anything that puts a stop on this, anything that puts a stop on their efforts to get these federal funds, which honestly speaking, they have very little chance of getting anyway, thankfully. Anything that puts a halt or a stop on it is good news. And hopefully this pause leads to an eventual retraction of the entire plan by the East-West Gateway Council of Governments, because it's just an absurd waste of money that's not going to address the transit needs of St. Louis.
Good morning, David. Gabe Phifer here. So we know that with the trolley, for instance, as kind of an example of trying to get federal funds, there's also this kind of consequence that if you shut it down, then there is some repayment that kicks in, or there's some sort of consequence. What would be the consequence of pulling out of this particular deal? Is there any sort of a lock that proponents would point to say that this is why we would keep going?
No, not yet, thankfully. They haven't received the federal funds for it. So they have every ability to just stop, I think they should pull the application from the federal government. And again, they're highly unlikely to get the money anyway, thanks to the Trump administration sort of change in tactics on these big, expensive projects like this, to say the least. But no, there's no risk like the trolley at this point. In the future, there could be, and that was one of the concerns raised by the county executives from St. Charles, Jefferson, and Franklin County last year when they opposed it, and that this could be Loop Trolley 2, as I called it at Show Me Institute. Meaning, sure, if they get the federal funds, several $100 million, build it, and then, not surprisingly, 10 years from now, nobody's riding this, which is exactly what happened to the trolley, then it would be troublesome and problematic for them to just cancel it. They wouldn't be able to do that because they've gotten the federal funds. So far better to pause it now, rethink the entire thing, and hopefully stop it, and hopefully say, you know what, this is not it. You can support Metrolink in St. Louis and still be substantially opposed to this project. This, again, their overly optimistic ridership projections, Metro's own projections, are only for 5,000 boardings a day on this. So that's only 2,500 people a day at best. And their ridership projections are always way too high. So that's about 2,500 people a day at most for a $1 billion project. That math doesn't work out. The Business Journal and others have covered just how, unattractive that amount is going to be towards federal officials. So absolutely time to pull this whole thing and hopefully start anew.
Yeah, I mean, you would think they would learn the lesson from, is what Gabe was talking about there, the Loop Trolley, even though that's more of a touristy thing. But so much, and we're visiting with David Stokes from the Show Me Institute, something happens in a lot of these, urban areas to where there's a mindset that says, well, we have to have this sort of transportation. We have to have like what Chicago has with the L, or we have to have the subways like New York City, has, and in New York City, the city wouldn't function without the subway system. I mean, it just wouldn't. But St. Louis isn't New York, and there's this temptation. We have to build this. We have to have this, available. This is just part of being in a big city, even though St. Louis isn't that big of a city anymore. And so to some degree, is there an argument being made that we need to defeat the argument that says, well, if we're a big city, we have to have this level of public transportation because, Kansas City has their light rail. And if people actually had to pay for that, it would have failed. But in this kind of thing, it's as much of a mindset as it is bad math, isn't it?
It is. And Mike, we do need quality public transportation in the St. Louis region. But for too many people, quality public transportation means incredibly expensive light rail like this. And that's not what we need. We have a system that serves what we need from that perspective. We need to be focused on providing a quality bus system for the people of St. Louis who use and need public transportation. We can be running a better bus system for a fraction of the cost of light rail. This line, this north-south line, this green line, they changed the name of it a few months ago to the Green Line. They don't even have a bus route currently that goes for this entire length of Jefferson Avenue. If the demand was there, if the demand is there, especially after they open the new Geospatial Intelligence Agency, you know what? Put a bus route along there to serve this route. Spend that money at a fraction of the cost, and that will help serve the needs of this route. And if there's great demand, then you can increase the amount of buses that run on it. I mean, buses work. Buses are an effective and efficient way of providing the public transportation people need. But there's this dream that buses, for some reason, don't cut it, and you need to have light rail / subways, whatever. And that's just absolutely not true. And the real shame of it is that we cannibalize our bus system by focusing all of our money and our attention on light rail. So we get a light rail system that serves very, very few people, costs a fortune, and then we take away cut the bus system that would serve people in a much more cost-effective manner. So the priorities are all out of whack, and this pause is hopefully the first step into getting them back in shape.
Yeah, but politicians don't get to have a cool ribbon cutting thing for their next campaign flyer with a bus.
No, that's true, and that's part of that whole sort of progressive ideology that we need. We're a big city. We need light rail. We need trolleys. We need a streetcar like Kansas City has. Their free streetcar that basically doesn't go any faster than people walking. and federal funds come into all this. I mean, if it wasn't for the federal government picking up most of the tab here, people wouldn't do these things because they wouldn't spend mostly their own money on it. They're going to spend it only because the federal government is going to pick up 75% of the cost. And that's why the federal government is $36 trillion in debt. And as soon as the Trump administration took office, a lot of people thought the writing was on the wall. Thankfully for it, for these big, giant, wasteful urban transit projects. Look, if they're going to spend that money, that pot of transit money, they're far better off doing it in New York or Washington, D.C., where it will actually move people via transit. In St. Louis, they're going to build a system that's going to cost a fortune and not actually move any people. It's just it's a terrible idea, this Green Line. And this is I'll be really happy when I hear it's canceled. But for right now, I'm still going to celebrate that it's paused, whatever that means.
David, there seems to be a sort of a misunderstanding about how cities operate and what they need to grow. In that, people will say, "Oh, well, we need a stadium in order to spur economic growth, or we need light rail in order to spur economic growth." When it seems to me that these things are more a consequence of existing growth. So how do we get people's minds right as to what's supposed to come first here, the chicken or the egg?
Well, at least in the city of St. Louis and many other cities, they've got an obsession with planning and subsidies, and they've got this idea that we're just gonna subsidize. We're gonna have these overarching plans, and worst of all, that we're gonna subsidize what we want, as if they can predict the future. Look look around the city. What are the parts of the city of St. Louis that are still succeeding and fun? Well, they're and profitable and the land is valuable. Well, they're the parts that are, growing organically. They haven't been planned. They haven't been subsidized top to bottom. There's this delusion of, if we just do the next big one-off project, that's going to revitalize everything. But then you look at the Central West End, it's not been just one new planned project, one stadium or the like. It's sort of an organic growth from entrepreneurs, from homeowners, from people who want to invest in their own neighborhoods. And you've seen that in Lafayette Square and Soulard and the parts of the city that are succeeding. And yes, there have been some subsidies in Lafayette Square and Soulard for the homes in there, the historic tax credits and the like. I'm not trying to say there's been no tax subsidy for these areas, but they're not coming about from government plans. They're coming about and succeeding because of investors and homeowners and people who care about their own neighborhoods. And that's what we need to see more of in St. Louis. That's what's going to grow the population of the city, not government plans and enormous tax subsidies and sort of one-off stadium-like projects that are going to revitalize a whole community, because that system never works.
All right, David Stokes, Show Me Institute. We follow the work how and where.
We got a lot of information about the Green Line, the North-South Line, as it was called until a few months ago, up at showmeinstitute.org. I testified against it at East-West Gateway last year, and would love to see East-West Gateway with the help of the new mayor, completely retract this entire proposal, because it's the last thing that the city of St. Louis and the St. Louis region needs right now.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, David. Thanks so much.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, guys.
Well, the Metrolink expansion is a really, really bad idea. So my guess is St. Louis is probably going to do it at some point.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, because they have a prime example on a mini scale of the loop trolley, which has been a disaster. And my bet is that they're not going to learn from that and find a way to say, well, that doesn't tell us anything.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, going to bring you up to what's happening around the region and around the, frankly, the country just ahead here on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
This app is absolutely fantastic.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
It is awesome.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey, St. Louis, summer's on its way, and if your AC isn't ready, you could be in for a long, sweaty ride. This is Chris Arps, and before you crank up that air conditioner, you need to call my friends over at Elite Comfort Experts. Right now, they're offering an AC performance evaluation for just $79. Yeah, $79 get you a full system check from your hometown comfort experts. No gimmicks, just guarantees. Call Elite Comfort Experts at 636-887-0971. Tell them Chris Arps sent you, or visit EliteComfortExperts.com.
Experience the exhilarating atmosphere of a Cardinals game. Join the sea of red in the wave around the stadium. Feel the rush of excitement as a home run lights up the sky with fireworks, bringing the whole ballpark to their feet. Nothing beats the thrill of watching the Cards get the W with the final out at the plate. It's more than a game. It's an experience. Visit Cardinals.com for tickets and info. St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Game tickets? Check.
A round of cold beers? Check.
Ballpark hot dogs? Check.
Baseball is back, and nothing beats a night out with the guys.
Or ladies.
At a Cardinals game.
From thrilling games and mouthwatering eats, the iconic ballpark energy, Busch Stadium is the ultimate spot for you and your crew to dive into America's favorite pastime.
Make your next night out the best one yet. Join us at Busch Stadium, where every hour is happy.
For tickets, visit Cardinals.com.
St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor-fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I love that you're starting your day off right with Mike Ferguson in the morning. It's your boy Joe Pags. Talk to you tonight. But now let's get back to Mike.
All right. Another twist and turn in the whole tariff talk coming from President Trump. We'll give you the update on that. Voters approved a bad idea. The court upholds it. And give you the update here. We're going to talk about that a little more depth in the 7 o'clock hour. And the UFL takes action against the player who slapped a football fan in St. Louis. It is 6:52 right now. Let's go ahead and let's do another news dump.
The morning news dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the morning news dump.
All right. President Trump, once again, backing off some of his tariff talk, pulling back on some of the 25% tariffs on automobiles and auto parts.
After hearing from auto CEOs worried about the negative impact of tariffs, the Trump administration is dialing back some of the import taxes on vehicles and parts. The president said it's a move giving automakers more time to move productions into the U.S.
I'm giving them a little bit of a break, right?
Automakers that finish their vehicles domestically will receive a 15% rebate this year, offsetting the cost of the tariffs. Greg Clugston, Washington.
I've said my piece on this. I'm moving on here. All right. The Missouri Supreme Court says Prop A stays. That means the minimum wage in the state will continue to rise to $15 an hour by next year. And employers starting tomorrow are going to be required to provide paid time off for almost all employees. There's a few minor exceptions here and there, but nothing that's on the grand scale. Multiple business advocacy groups sued to have the new law struck down, arguing that the cost estimate was wrong and that the ballot summary was misleading. Voters approved the measure with 58% of the vote, so this wasn't even really close. Voters made a bad decision on that. And there will be small businesses around the state that close because of this. But starting tomorrow, basically every employee, if they're not already covered under some kind of, vacation benefits package, part-time employee who works, 10 hours a week. And for every 30 hours they work, they have to bank now a PTO hour that the employers will have to pay out on that. And that's going to hurt a lot of small businesses on that, especially that utilize a lot of part-time workers.
How much do you want to bet that this is going to incentivize big companies raising their prices on everything, and the people that voted for this that caused that are going to say, "Look at Trump's economy"?
Yeah, I mean it's definitely going to add some of the costs, without a doubt. The big companies, doesn't really affect them, but that's not going to stop people from saying so. But Walmart's, that doesn't matter to them. They can afford it. It's the small mom and pops that are going to be hurt by this.
Look at California, Washington, and Oregon, and then tell me you can raise the minimum wage in a meaningful way.
Yeah. It all comes back to kind of, the economic theories that we understand. It's like, well, when you as an outside force affect the cost of a commodity, and labor is a commodity, then you're necessarily going to, cause ripples throughout the entire economy that perhaps you didn't intend. Right. Speaking of unintended consequences.
There we go again. All right. Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley, who is a Democrat, is now reintroducing what he calls the Equality Act this week. The Equality Act would amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and add bans on discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity in employment, housing, jury duty selection, and other areas, because we all know that's all the same thing as skin color, right?
Oh, yes, of course. Yes. Gender identity is just like me being black.
Exactly. Same thing. New Jersey Senator Cory Booker speaking at a press conference saying they're going to fight for all of those rights here.
We declare today and every day until justice is established in this land, until the Equality Act passes, we declare that we, the people, will grab hold of that arc and pull and bend it until we live up to our promise in a country and truly are free at last, free at last.
So what, we have a sachet down RuPaul's drag show is the same thing as marching on Selma?
Oh my God.
I mean, is that what we're saying now? you freaking dumbass Cory Booker.
We shall overcome, girl.
We shall. Yes.
Yes, queen.
Yes, queen. Oh, God. Jeez. All right. A suspension is handed down for the slap heard round the dome. And I know I read that earlier. I just like that line that I wrote. Michigan Panthers wide receiver Samson Nakua is suspended without pay for one game after slapping a fan last Saturday following their loss to the Battlehawks in St. Louis. The UFL says Nakua will also participate in community service events later this season. And keep in mind, for the UFL, these guys aren't making big bank. I mean, they're doing okay, but they're not making big bank. And this is 10% of his income that he just lost because he decided to slap a guy that he was arguing with at the Dome.
Dummy.
Idiot. All right. Game night for the Blues with the playoff series tied at 2 games apiece. We are down to now 3 games left with the Jets. Tonight's game is in Winnipeg, starts at 8:30, and you can see it on ESPN. So really, this playoff round is just going to be a best of 3 now at this point. The Cardinals and the Reds got rained out in Cincinnati on Tuesday, much like my game is probably going to get rained out tomorrow. So they're going to play 2 games today. The makeup game starts at 11:40 this morning with Miles Michaelis getting the start for that one. After that, they will clear out the stadium. And then later today, they're going to play again, 5:40 start time. Both games are on FanDuel if you want to check those out. The Cardinals already dropped the first game of the series to the Reds. They really need to pick up a win here. At least the Cardinals aren't in last place because Pittsburgh is even worse than the Cardinals are this year. So thank God for the Pirates right now.
Tired of floors that don't stand up to real life? Hometown Floors has the solution. With 40 years of experience, they know floors. 100% made in the USA. Luxury vinyl, laminate carpet, pet-friendly, and built to last. Free in-home estimates, professional installation, and satisfaction guaranteed. Hometown Floors, making small business great again. Check us out at hometownfloorsonline.com.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
Mom deserves something special this Mother's Day, and News Talk STL wants to help make it happen.
Come give your mama a kiss.
Register now for your chance to win amazing prizes for Mom, including gift cards from Di Gregorio's Italian Market, Jules on Hampton, Anthony's Produce, and Harry J. Steakhouse.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Winners will be notified by email May 8, just in time for Mother's Day. Register now at NewsTalkSTL.com or via the new News Talk STL mobile app. JC's got a new Saturday night show.
You should call that radio station and let him have it.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. 3 big hours of great tunes from the 90s, 80s, and 70s. Plus bits and pieces that'll take you back to the best years of your past.
The stinking Mets are in town this weekend. We'll revisit the Pond Scum days. Plus, it's Cinco de Mayo weekend. And our A-list interview is with Kenny Loggins, presented by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. President Trump touting what he calls the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country. He held a huge rally last evening, Warren, Michigan, saying he's ushered in the most secure border in American history.
The number of illegal border crossers released into the United States is down. Listen to this, please. 99.999%.
Mr. Trump also says prices for many things are coming down. Quoting the president, gasoline prices are down by a lot. Energy prices are down. He also says that mortgage rates and prescription drug prices heading in the right direction. And he has announced some new fighter jets for a Michigan Air National Guard base.
Before holding a rally marking 100 days in office, the president stopped by Michigan's Selfridge Air National Guard base with this announcement.
Very soon, we will replace the retiring A-10 Warthogs with 21 brand new F-15EX Eagle II fighter jets, the best in the world.
The announcement allayed fears that the base could close, and it delivered a win for Michigan's Democratic governor, Gretchen Whitmer. Greg Clugston, Washington.
And the president's easing some of his 25% tariffs on cars and car parts. The Catholic Church in Oklahoma wants taxpayers to fund an online charter school that is, quote, faithful to the teachings of Jesus Christ. The Supreme Court hearing arguments in the case today. Legal analysts say a ruling from the High Court allowing public money to flow directly to a religious school almost certainly would lead to others. Been a deadly scaffolding collapse at a construction site in Port Arthur, Texas. 3 workers killed, 2 others injured in the accident at the Port Arthur LNG construction site. Watching Wall Street this morning, Dow futures up 37 points, NASDAQ futures down 116. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free too with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Periods of rain and storms today, including some wet times this morning, but no severe weather in the St. Louis metro this morning. Let's keep an eye on any storms that develop this afternoon and this evening, though. Hail, wind, and isolated tornado possible. Up into the low to mid 70s this afternoon in St. Louis, warmer to the south. So scattered rain and storms this evening and tonight, down to 62 for the low. More scattered storms tomorrow as a cold front passes through. Thursday's high 76. Finally, dry and very nice this weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
When it comes to spending your tax dollars and teaching your kids, governments and school districts should be an open book. But in Missouri, that's not always the case. Recently, the Show Me Institute sent out a sunshine law request to school districts across the state, asking for information on whether certain topics are being taught. Specifically, a controversial one called critical race theory was included in the list. Many districts didn't respond. Some wanted to charge large fees to process the documents. Lee's Summit outside Kansas City wanted over $35,000. A rural district, Morgan County, wanted $15,000. The Sunshine Law does allow charging a reasonable fee for sending out information, but there's nothing reasonable about $35,000 or $15,000. These districts should want to be transparent about their curriculums. Taxpayers deserve to know what their kids are being taught. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Phifer.
I triple dog dare you!
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! This is your cousin.
Looks like we might have a new class of oppressed people actually recognized and protected.
Wow.
In this country.
A new one.
Yep. It might be soon, at least.
All right.
There's a proposal for this.
Collecting them like Infinity Stones.
pretty much, yeah. And this is coming from another deep blue city, so I would say you're going to be shocked, but I don't think you are. All right, by the way, Flashback Friday coming up. Don't forget to get your 80s bump music requests in. Getting them in today would be helpful because that helps Jerome put them all in the system.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, Monty, you are correct. I don't recognize a single one of the songs, so you will likely get a few requests.
There it is. Nice. All right. I saw this in the Heartland on the Heartlanders website yesterday. Minneapolis. You never know what they're going to do.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, here. So you know it's going to be good when it comes out of Minneapolis here.
Oh man.
They being a left-wing city that they are close to making fat people the latest victim class to be protected from oppression.
Fat people, rise up.
but slowly. You don't want to hurt your knees.
Yeah,
cool. So I get to be part of the victim club.
You
now.
may be. I mean,
Yeah,
if
there
you
you go.
consider yourself fat, are you?
I'm medically overweight.
You're husky. When I was a
I'm
kid,
big
it was
boned.
husky,
Big boned.
bone.
Yeah,
There it is.
Exactly.
You were a wrestler. You were like a
lineman
competitor.
wrestler. Yeah, no, I can't make the excuse no more.
You don't do it anymore.
Okay, so the Minneapolis City Council, they are now moving forward with an amendment to their city ordinances, their city law, that would add height, weight, housing status, and criminal records to the categories protected under the city civil rights codes.
Oh, so they're adding us short kings in there too.
There you go.
All right, I'll take that. Too.
Okay, real quick. Does it specify that they have to be short? Because being this big is not as easy as people think. They're like, oh, I wish I was tall. No, you don't.
That's actually a good point.
Because you're 6 what?
I'm about 6'4.5".
6, yeah, 6'4",
yeah.
6'5",
Any sort of public transportation.
Yeah, I was going
any
to say it's
planes,
not built for you.
No,
not built for
this
you.
world's too small for me.
Airplanes are probably miserable.
Oh,
because
that's why I do trains.
I am the exact average height of a man in America. I am 5'10" tall, and airlines are cramped for me.
Right,
and I am not like your height. I mean, I am literally the average height in America.
And then to make matters worse, I'm not I have a longer torso than legs proportionate to my size, so it's hard for me to find jeans that actually fit me properly. And so now I got two protected classes. I'm fat and I'm tall.
You got grievances, man. Yeah. Bring them to the government. Apparently,
I don't know. You're big and you're tall. Their entire store is dedicated just to you. I don't have that. All right.
The world's your oyster, Mike.
That's right. So they are expected to approve this measure on May 1st in Minneapolis, and that's according to a report from Alpha News. So here, this would prohibit discrimination based on other areas too. For instance, let me just read the article here.
Okay, all right.
The ordinance would prohibit discrimination based on the list of attributes in areas such as education, professional organizations, employment, public accommodations, and property rights. Additionally, it defines justice impacted status as
so criminal history.
Yes.
Okay.
The state of having
you have to employ your leftist speech translator.
Right. That is justice impacted means the state of having a criminal record or history. Basically living with the consequences of your own actions now. But there are a couple of exceptions that they're willing to make on that, because somebody's like, okay, you can't go too crazy here. And so this is already one of the most left-wing cities out there. But it's so funny, that also literal like body composition. So I got to thinking,
that's crazy.
So like, for instance, if somebody, because we're talking about, this is affecting the private sector. This isn't just the government jobs.
Right. Yeah.
So somebody who is 5'3" and weighs 375 pounds applies to work at a gym,
right?
Or as
a trainer,
right? As a trainer, right? Or
Planet Fitness,
right?
Planet Fitness,
or they want to go to work at
no lungs allowed unless you look like one,
right? Or at like a nutrition store,
right?
Or a health food store,
yeah.
And those store businesses say, you don't really fit the brand. You're not,
yeah.
Well, you've just violated their rights according to the city of Minnesota, assuming they pass this thing tomorrow, which they're probably going to do.
Are they going to mess up every Hooters in America here?
I thought about that one, but yes.
I'm just going to bring, hey, look, Gabe for some reason has been unleashed recently, so
yes.
I'm just gonna go full on. They're gonna mess up every Hooters in their was it a state ordinance?
City.
Yeah.
They're
gonna mess up every Hooters in that city.
So basically, it's like, okay, if you're gonna go to Hooters, you got to go to St. Paul. Don't go to Minneapolis.
Don't go to Minneapolis.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that in the city, I will be able to be the after picture of a weight loss program.
Yes, yes.
They can't discriminate against you.
But think about it. I mean, and for instance, let's say that you go to whatever gym, and you got the person who greets you. Let me show you around and brag about the how great our gym is.
Usually a fit person in warm-ups,
because
right?
that's how you market these things.
Right. I want to go this place in particular, to get fit.
Right.
I want to become like a fit person in my head.
Right.
And then if the person that I'm greeted with is not a fit person, I rethink whether or not that's the place I want to do that.
Yeah. Or at, a health food store.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case is on there. It's all the same thing. So you've got the management, micromanagement. Okay. So you can go back to the, Civil Rights Act of 1964. Were there aspects of that they should have written differently? Sure. Were there aspects of it, frankly, that were probably unconstitutional? Probably. But the overall idea is, in this country, we're not going to tolerate somebody being treated differently or being denied access to something because of the color of their skin,
right,
or because they're male or female. Well, the Biden administration, of course, wanted to, basically male, female, or pervert. But now the Trump administration is reversing that, saying male or female. But having said all that, now you get these left-wing cities that are basically saying, we're going to find anything and everything to put in here.
Yeah.
And the funny part on this is that eventually, if everybody is in a group or a category, even by their own decision, nobody's protected from anything.
Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't the whole point of having protected peoples based on immutable qualities, so that way you and I can't bully Gabe for his skin color, but we can still bully him for being a rocket scientist and a nerd, right?
I could have changed that.
Yes,
I could have.
Yeah, but now you have people, and again, like I'm not the worst example I'm not going to be on your 700-pound life or whatever, but
you're a big guy.
But I'm a big guy, and there are things that I could do of my own choices that I just don't do because I'm lazy, and so being tall, I can't help that. Being a little overweight or being what was it? Law impacted or
justice impacted?
Justice impacted. Yeah, like that.
That's up to you.
Because there are legitimate cases of some, not very many, but some fat people because of medical issues and thyroid issues, stuff like that. There is not a single person out there right now that has a felony that did not do something felonious. Like, why are you protecting the people that don't respect our rights?
I remember when I worked in a human resources field for a little while, I'm going through one of these certification classes. And at one point, the class was like, everybody is included in some protected class. Literally.
Yeah.
Because if you include like religion or non-religion, every single person is in a protected class.
At least one.
And so, of course, smart ass me, it's like, well, then what's the point of any of them?
Right.
It's like, well, we have to protect people from, but you just said every single, it's all the different classes. So no matter what, you can claim aggrieved status.
Right. Yeah. And that's the problem. I think it's a fine line between writing into law good, societal behaviors and just teaching good societal behaviors, just having it as part of your culture. So, it shouldn't be an issue that, when whatever ethnicity the person is who walks into your door, you're running a cafe. It's like, well, okay, your ethnicity is not a relevant factor in my hiring decision.
Right.
That should just be the case, right? It's like we all recognize that should be a cultural standard that we all live by. But then you start adding all of these other aspects. It's like, well, we first we're going to ensconce that into law, and then we're going to make it expandable. We're going to make it infinitely expandable, because now you can include, not just immutable things, but mutable things. Basically, it's like you can change if you're fat. You know what I mean?
But even like this, when somebody says, okay, well, you shouldn't discriminate based on religion.
Well, what if I'm hiring for a church?
Right. What if you're hiring for a church or a Christian bookstore,
right,
or something like that, and somebody comes in in a hijab, and they're like, I want to work here. They're like, well, this is a faith-based organization. You're discriminating against me.
I think the most egregious thing about the list that you just listed off is it straight up is left-handed.
Oh,
and he is not a protected class. Yeah,
that's true.
I'm left-handed.
Yeah, left-handed people,
The
man.
lefties.
We can still oppress you, so watch out.
Hey, we got you guys some scissors once.
What was really weird is that they actually made a difference when I got my first left-handed scissors.
Oh, they
in grade school.
absolutely
It
did.
actually,
Yes.
which doesn't make any sense.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now the one thing that I think should be really, really important to that is they need to make more ambidextrous firearms. because that would remove a lot of the limitations on
I learned how to shoot right-handed.
People's exercise of their rights.
Yeah, see, I learned. I mean, I my trigger fingers, I do right. I learned how to shoot right.
In fact, the government should provide all of us at least one firearm of various types. These are one shotgun, one pistol, one rifle.
Yeah,
I
ambidextrously.
Ambidextrous ones too.
There you go.
Make it a
it's
law.
like George Thorogood needs to make a song. One rifle, one pistol, one shotgun.
But seriously though, I mean, I think relevant trait, I think, is the most relevant aspect of what we're talking about here. Race is not a relevant trait in most considerations, right? Which is why racial discrimination is such a heinous thing. Now, there are certain discriminations that should be required. Like you just said, the example of the religious. Yes, I should be able to discriminate on the basis of religion for
if it's relevant to
relevant to the job. It's like I don't want an atheist running my curriculum at a Christian school for the religion class. It's like I should be able to deny that person.
Yeah, I'm not going to be offended if you disqualify me from your contortionist position.
Yeah, exactly. It's like can you do the it's like, not really. I was like, I have trouble reaching to the middle of my back.
Okay, well, this isn't going to work. You're oppressing me.
Stop oppressing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I hate it all. I hate every single one of those things. Every single one.
Oh my goodness. All right. Let's see here. What are we going to do here? Can we get ourselves any more trouble here? I think we can. let's try.
Let's reach more people.
Let's try that. Yep. All right. Just ahead here. This is interesting. The court rules on the whole small business law that voters approved, and so now lawmakers are looking to claw back Proposition A, which goes into effect tomorrow, or at least some aspects of it do. Is that a good idea? And somebody lost a $60 million piece of equipment in the military.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'll tell you what happened. That's right around 721.
Everyone can be super. And when everyone's super, no one will be.
News Talk STL.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Dr. Randy Tobler here, and I know that when you're looking for a dentist, you have to make sure you choose a dental practice that's compatible with you and the needs of your family. Well, I'd like to tell you about my dentist, Dr. Dan Cusimano, and his partner, Megan Dwyer, and their team at Advanced Dentistry at St. Charles. The great team at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles can accommodate all of your cosmetic and restorative needs because their passion is general dentistry. Implants, crowns, bridges, even dentures. That what you need the most is what they'll provide in a personalized, focused way. And they can provide therapeutic and cosmetic options like Botox and dermal fillers. Get to know them and all they have to offer by calling 636-978-0226 or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com. That's Dr. Daniel Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer at Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles.
That's Advanced Dentistry Now, 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
This is 1019 and 94.1.
I have to tell you, if this is how they're going to behave, I'm rethinking my position.
News Talk STL.
Hi, this is Susie Moore.
check out my show, Red State Radio, Sunday afternoon at 4, right here on NewsTalkSTL. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, that paid time off law, that actually goes into effect tomorrow. Conservatives want to end that. So here's the question is, should they? We brought this up before, but now we've got an update with the state Supreme Court from there. Okay, I don't normally tease ahead this far. Did you see this thing with Amazon, this dust up on the Amazon that happened yesterday?
No.
So there was a report that came out that said Amazon was about to print on like the boxes or like on the shipping labels or somewhere on the box. You order something from Amazon. When it shows up, it would show you how much the tariffs increased the cost of what you bought. Amazon says we never made that decision, and Caroline Leavitt at the White House, kind of went berserk over it. She's like, this is a hostile and
don't take the bait.
And Amazon, the president called Bezos. He goes, well, he took care of the problem, and Amazon
was there even a problem?
Yeah, Amazon's like, we never decided to do that. But I saw one report that said they acknowledged that somebody had suggested it, but they had never made the decision to do that.
Okay.
But what was interesting to me, and maybe in the 8 o'clock hour, because I don't think I've got time, maybe 7:50. But the question then, okay, well, wait a minute, if they could calculate that. What's the problem?
Why wouldn't it be a valid thing to include?
Would that look bad for the administration? Probably, because everybody would be looking at how much we're cost. But you could do the same thing with like taxes. I mean, every time I get a receipt for something, it tells me how much I just lost in taxes.
Yeah, absolutely.
To that, and tariff is a tax. So that's maybe was this like a dirty left-wing thing that Amazon was doing? Maybe a little bit,
maybe,
or just a company that says this is going to hurt our business, so we're gonna say something about it. But they never actually did it,
right?
And they got kind of raked over the coals in conservative media. And I'm like, but I don't think they actually did that.
I actually believe in transparency in pricing.
Yeah.
So look, if you want to break down your prices to include labor and compliance, sure. I mean, every receipt would turn into a CVS receipt, but you know what? That's fine. I mean, more information is better than less information in my world. But I don't know why people are get up in arms about these things, other than partisan.
But it'll
politics.
make me look bad. Yeah,
exactly.
All right. Hey, did anybody see where I parked that jet fighter?
What?
It was around here somewhere. Okay, so
my jet was right here.
It was right here a second ago.
Dude, where's my jet?
The Navy lost a $60 million jet fighter.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what by the way, when you were in that, did you work on this jet?
If we're talking about an aircraft carrier,
it fell off an aircraft carrier.
Yeah. And most aircraft carriers are just loaded out completely with F-18s.
Yeah, it was an F-18 Super Hornet fighter. Did you?
I worked on those.
You worked. Okay, so did you not put a parking brake on it?
It has a parking brake.
Okay, all right. Because what happened is the aircraft carrier, I guess, took an evasive measure from some attacks in Yemen. And the aircraft carrier turned fast enough that the fighter jet rolled off and fell into the ocean. A $60 million jet fell into the ocean.
Yeah, see, this is one of the hazards that you can have. Now it's a rare one. Now we're talking about the lower deck of the aircraft carrier. That's basically the hangar of the aircraft carrier. There's a little elevator that allows them to move back and forth. And of course, there's a big hole in the side of the ship where you move from inside the hangar to the elevator so you can get up to the launch deck. So things can fall out of that hole.
Apparently.
So all I'm hearing is that if I can get a submarine, I can get a free jet.
Yeah, free jet.
Yes. Oh yeah, free jet.
Free jet, bottom of the ocean right now.
I mean, because
there are a few of them actually.
Gabe, what have you done?
Hey, look, it's actually tough operating on the ocean with a small city acting as an airport on the ocean.
I'm still trying to figure out how it rolls off.
Yeah, it was in motion at the time. Actually, it was being towed. They lost a tow vehicle as well.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, so that's how violently the ship had rocked.
Yeah, they said the ship made a hard turn to avoid some fire from fighters in Yemen.
Now, see, that's probably the more interesting story here. So they're launching. Somebody in Yemen is launching attacks at our aircraft carriers.
Something, yeah.
And they're having to pull these maneuvers. You know what's cheaper than a $60 million aircraft?
What's that?
$1 million bomb.
There you go.
I'm just saying. You can. It is a pretty big one you can get for $1 million. So you can stop the attacks.
There
maybe.
you go. Yeah, and then you won't be dropping jets into the ocean.
You won't be dropping jets.
All right, real quick. The Missouri Supreme Court. I've mentioned this in the news dump. Several business groups, Chamber of Commerce, National Federation of Independent Business, and some others, they were suing to block Prop A from going into effect after voters approved it in November. And make no mistake, it was a bad decision by voters, but 58% of voters said yes to this. It is going to probably kill off several small businesses around the state. So this is the one that accelerates the minimum wage up to $15 an hour next year. And then by inflation, it goes up after that. So really there's going to be no stopping how high at some point in Missouri, minimum wage is going to be $20 or $25 an hour.
Yeah, of course.
But $15 an hour regardless of the level of skill that you bring to the table, or regardless of the job, $15 an hour by next year. And then the other part that says for every 30 hours worked, every single worker, every single employee gets a 1 hour PTO banked up to a certain number of hours per year. And so the employers, if they hire somebody, to work one weekend shift or to work, 10 hours a week, 2 hours a day after school or whatever the case is, they're hiring somebody just to cover a little bit. Eventually they're going to have to pay that person to not be there.
Yeah. So it's basically a 3% increase on the cost of whoever they're hiring.
Of labor. Yeah.
Of labor. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is already your most expensive thing anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not a big fan of minimum wage increases on principle, but one of our commenters a while back made a very interesting perspective on it. Is, would this force more people to get off of Social Security, or not Social Security, but like public services and social services like that?
Most likely not, for the simple reason is that they index those what do you call them? Those entitlements based on cost of living and inflation as well.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Because what they were saying is when in Washington, where of course this totally worked without any flaws or hiccups.
It's a fair question though.
What he's saying is that basically what they were doing is that they were intentionally lowering their hours that they were working because they didn't want to lose the benefits, but they were making more per hour. So they were actually getting more money on both fronts.
Well, also keep in mind that just economics 101, you increase the cost. The businesses, in order to survive, have to claw that back somewhere, which means fewer people have access to those jobs. So there are fewer people who are going to be working.
So we're basically all going to be, if we're able-bodied, we're all going to be Amazon warehouse workers. If we're not, then we're all going to be on social services.
Yeah, well, if you have a leftist dream world, yes. Of course, the leftist dream world is everybody is dependent on some sort of government. Something.
Yeah. The thing is like something my dad told me ages ago. And this was, 1980 something. And he said, son, the minimum wage is $0.
That's right.
Because nobody has to hire your black.
Yeah.
Behind. So that's kind of the issue here that I've always had with the, any attempt to not only, increase minimum wages, but to have a minimum wage period.
Right.
It's the government's trying to impose a cost where the market actually has forces that would create a cost for it.
Right.
And when you do that, you end up forcing people out of the market who otherwise would have a place to go. The reason, youth unemployment is so high in America is because nobody wants to pay a 14-year-old $15 an hour.
Exactly.
Because they know nothing, they don't know how to do anything, and they're not competent.
And they haven't proven themselves.
And they haven't proven themselves because they have no work history, right? So if I have to pay somebody $15, I'm going to end up skewing that particular labor, that particular job to more experienced and older people, which is why we end up with people saying, I can't raise my kids on it. You weren't supposed to. You weren't meant to raise your kids on minimum wage. That job was supposed to be for a kid just learning how work works.
Yeah. So the state lawmakers in Missouri are trying to do what they're calling a Prop A fix. it's going to be tough to sell that to a whole bunch of people who are just promised more money and free paid time off that somebody's got to pay for.
Free.
Yeah, free, quote unquote free. But the reality is the voters approved this, and it wasn't close.
Nope.
And I think they did know what they were voting for. They just either didn't know or didn't care what the consequences are. But then we can say that about every politician that we elect as well.
Well, economic literacy is about as scarce as a good minimum wage.
Can we
job.
mandate, Hazlitt, Bastiat's, Sol, Hayek? Can we mandate,
I think you should have to pass a test based on Thomas Sowell in order to be able to allow the vote for anything.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Hey, breaking news. Illinois is a mess. We got the update from our friends at the Freedom Caucus in Illinois coming your way at 7:35.
Also, on Larry Connor's commentary, I wouldn't even discuss today's subject, but it's already public.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Periods of rain and storms today, including some wet times this morning, but no severe weather in the St. Louis metro this morning. Let's keep an eye on any storms that develop this afternoon and this evening. No hail, wind, and isolated tornado possible. Up into the low to mid 70s this afternoon in St. Louis, warmer to the south. So scattered rain and storms this evening and tonight, down to 62 for the low. More scattered storms tomorrow as a cold front passes through. Thursday's high 76. Finally, dry and very nice this weekend. At your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
Hey, if you're 50 or older, you do not want to take any risk with your money. In fact, you want Leslie Consulting. My friend Bob Leslie can show you a gain and retain plan. Means that you never lose. Plus, you get up to a 20% bonus on day one. Leslie Consulting, a leader in brokerage and risk management. 314-721-0066. LeslieConsulting.com.
Larry Connor's commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
This is a subject I would not discuss, but it's already public. In 2003, when we invaded Iraq, the Defense Department came up with a deck of cards to help our forces identify key targets working for Saddam Hussein. He was the ace of spades. The other 51 cards represented various Iraqi targets. Now there's a guy in America wanting to create a new deck of cards listing the most wanted CEOs. This is after the United Healthcare CEO was executed on the streets of Manhattan. The creator already has a list of CEOs, but he's asking his 100,000 social media followers for additional names. Each card will have the image and name of a CEO. Some of his followers are also asking, will the cards include added personal information, addresses, maybe family information? One suggested we need cards for the good guys, like the guy who killed the United Healthcare CEO. So far, there are no charges against this creator or to stop him from printing these cards. And thousands claim as soon as the cards are ready, they will buy one or more decks. And then what happens?
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Congratulations to everyone at Connor Roofing for earning the 2025 National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction. Connor Roofing is now a 3-time winner. We chose Connor Roofing again without telling the owners, Rob and Kathy Connor, because they do outstanding work and have some of the best customer reviews we've ever seen. If you need residential or commercial roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, and more, count on Connor. Please visit ConnorRoofing.com. Request your estimate. Connor Roofing, the best of the best, again.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
Mom deserves something special this Mother's Day, and News Talk STL wants to help make it happen.
Come give your mama a kiss.
Register now for your chance to win amazing prizes for Mom, including gift cards from Canditi's Catering and Express, Roman T. Jewelers, Freddy's Market, and Mario's Donut Restaurant.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Winners will be notified by email May 8, just in time for Mother's Day. Register now at NewsTalkSTL.com or via the new News Talk STL mobile app.
We talk about race relations.
This conversation has completely made me crazy.
This is complete insanity.
And I'm sick and tired of it.
1019 and 94.1.
I find it to be a conversation starter.
News Talk STL.
Hi, this is Susie Moore. Check out my show, Red State Radio, Sunday afternoon at 4, right here on News Talk STL. Now it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
You know, they can't deliver education in many public schools, but they don't want parents teaching their kids themselves.
Oh, heaven forbid.
Can't have that happen.
No,
right?
you need a degree for that.
Good Lord. Just one of the leftist nonsense debacles in Illinois right now. It's time for an update, as painful as that may be. Don't forget, News Talk STL, we got a great Mother's Day giveaway happening. I want to mention that before we talk to Representative Blaine Wilhour. NewsTalkSTL.com. We have got a lot of gift baskets we're giving away this year. We are giving away more prizes in this giveaway than we've ever done before in any of our giveaways. So NewsTalkSTL.com, register. You could end up winning. So whether you're looking for something for your mom, but you're too cheap to buy it yourself, or whether, mom, you've got kids that you know are too cheap to buy you something themselves, you can go to NewsTalkSTL.com and we'll cover part of that Mother's Day. There's some really great stuff.
Treat yourself.
More details there. All right. State Representative Blaine Wilhour, member of the Illinois Freedom Caucus, joins us right now, who I am sure, I have it on good authority, is not cheap, and he will be getting the women in his life good gifts for a Mother's Day, right? Right, Blaine?
Yeah, happy wife, happy life. It's good to be here this morning.
Oh my goodness! All right,
we appreciate our mothers.
Without a doubt. Okay, so Blaine, let me ask you this. I saw this article on Wire Points just a couple days ago, and in several schools, 1 million Illinois students, we're talking K through 12 students, 1 million cannot read at grade level, according to the latest education data, which is literally from 2024. That is 60% of the students in the state. And at a dozen schools in Illinois, not one single student tested scored proficient in math. And that's like 80 schools.
Yep.
I mean, so, but 70% of the kids are still graduating, which is a whole other thing. And these are two things I wanted to ask you about, but we've got those staggering sets of facts, along with the case that now the left basically wants to crack down and control and override parents when they decide to homeschool to get their kids out of this failed system here. And this just goes to show you just how out of whack the priorities are of the left, which is the dominant force in Illinois politics is right now.
Yeah, dismal failure, but it's nothing new, Mike. I've been talking about this since I came in 2019. Our public government schools are a dismal failure, and they want to talk about, abuse and neglect. There's over 30 schools in the state of Illinois where not a single kid, not one, is reading at grade level. That's pathetic, and it's got to change. But the Illinois education industrial complex wants no competition. All right. That's why they're coming after these homeschoolers. That's why they're coming after these private schools. The kids be damned, the learning be damned. They can't read or do math at grade level, but it's all about power and control. The homeschools and the non-recognized private schools, which are predominantly religious schools. They don't want to be recognized because they don't want to be tied to this failed system. You know, this assault on the homeschoolers and private schoolers, the bill literally starts out that homeschooling is the fastest growing form of education in the country. Well, guys, why do you think it's the fastest growing form of education in the country? Because the government schools have failed, and they've failed miserably in our urban areas, especially. You know, 1 out of every 10 kids in Chicago public schools, African-American kids, are reading at grade level. We've got to do some things different, but I'll tell you what, when they came after these homeschoolers and these non-recognized private schoolers, they didn't know what they were getting into. They woke up a sleeping giant with that. And I think that the party, the Illinois Republican Party, it can take a lesson from the coalition that's been put together that so far has beat this thing back against big odds. You know, we've got 78 Democrats and 40 Republicans in the House of Representatives, and right now this homeschooling bill is stuck in a committee. It doesn't have the votes to get to the floor. It doesn't have the votes because we put together a coalition of the urban areas and the rural areas that have a lot in common in this state, that they have been disproportionately destroyed culturally and economically by a government system that's been dominated by far left Democrats and you know, pushover Republicans for too long. But we stood up and we fought on this. We fought with a new coalition, and right now we're winning. So, you know, let's keep it going.
Good morning, Blaine. Gabe Phifer here. So it sounds as though, you know, things are going well, at least on this front. I hate to kind of skip over and say, okay, we won that battle. What's next? Yeah. But I do want to, you know, looking at the horrible outcomes that the public schools have, would you think there would be any momentum, I guess, behind trying to bring at least some bit of accountability to the public schools after this fight is done?
No, not really. Not until we change course and we change some, you know, some politicians and Republicans get tougher and demand accountability. The only real accountability here is real local control, and that's parental control. The parents increasingly have less and less rights in the state of Illinois when it comes to education. You know, we've got you did the numbers there on the percentage of kids that can't read and do math. It's basically 3 out of every 10 are actually reading at grade level. 7 out of 10 are not, which is completely is pathetic, and it's unacceptable. There's no recourse. We're trapping kids in those schools. We got these schools where not a single kid is reading at grade level, but they have no options. Those parents have no options, especially if they're low income. That's a disgrace. That's a tragedy. And you know, you can't say out of one side of your mouth that you care about kids, and then you trap them in a school that they can't get out of that's both dangerous and failing.
We're visiting with
the only accountability is real education choice, and we're the only state in the union going backwards on that.
We're visiting with State Representative Blaine Wilhour. But one thing that some of the Democrats are really fired up on regarding public education is banning mascots. You know, saying that you can't have Native Americans or something that was targeting the mighty midgets from here in the St. Louis area as well. I mean, this would be laughable. It kind of is laughable, other than when you look at the lack of priorities. What's your take on, you know, this bill to be all politically correct and literally outlaw the mascots of who knows how many, you know, local community schools throughout the state?
Well, you know, first things first, let's get the education right. You know, do your social engineering or whatever, you know, after you get kids that are actually reading and doing math in your schools. It's pathetic. It's you know, it's a complete distraction. It's more of this woke nonsense that was literally thrown out at the ballot box in 2024. As long as they keep, you know, trying to put the big hand of the state coming into places like Freeport that has a long history with their mascots and their stories and everything else. If they want to change their mascot, they can change it. But the state has no business interfering in any of this stuff because it can't even do its own job.
Producer Jerome speaking with State Representative Blaine Wilhour. So one of the arguments that I constantly see online in opposition to homeschooling and school choice is that we just are not qualified. We're not smart enough to homeschool our children, despite the fact that studies show homeschooled children are outperforming public school children. And the second biggest argument I hear is that the cost or the time that is involved in homeschooling a child or getting them into, looking for schools to put them in is just way too much for their schedule. Do you have any rebuttals to those arguments, and can you propose any resources that are available for those that are really trying to figure out a way of avoiding the public school system?
Well, I mean, the facts are pretty clear, and you laid it out right there. The homeschool kids consistently score higher in terms of reading and math, their SAT scores. They disproportionately become more productive members of society. That's because the parents exercise their right to educate the kids in the way that they see fit. And it also opens up all kinds of other opportunities for, teaching kids how to work, how to be responsible, discipline, things like that, things that are missing increasingly in our government education system. So, they don't really have a leg to stand on this stuff. And they talk about safety. There's over 1,000 reports of assault, mostly sexual, in the Chicago public schools just in the last year or so. All right. We got 2 perverted teachers in DuPage County just recently in the last couple months that are being accused of molesting kids there. This nonsense is happening in our government schools, but they want to turn a blind eye to that. They don't want to take care of that system, which they have destroyed. They want to come after homeschooling just because it's competing with the government education system, and frankly doing a better job.
Okay, I've just got a minute or so left, Blaine. We know that Gavin Newsom's probably running for president. I don't know that Greg Whitmer is going to run for president. It looks like J.B. Pritzker definitely waddling for president as well over the last couple of days. And then he gives his speech in New Hampshire, and he's calling for mass protest, and Republicans should not have a moment of peace. Not a direct call for any sort of violence, but he's amping up his rhetoric in there. What do you take, and what's your response when you hear him, say Mr. Tough Guy kind of stuff?
Right. J.B. Pritzker is a desperate fool. I mean, that slob couldn't fight his way out of a wet paper sack. But, talk about no peace. Didn't Trump get elected because regular people have no peace under Democrat rule? Wasn't that the deal? In Chicago, we got mobs taking over the streets. We're the number 1 tax state in the nation. Utility bills are 2 times to 4 times more expensive under J.B. Pritzker. Our education system is in shambles. The quality of life is lower for everybody in this state but illegal immigrants. That is no peace. J.B. Pritzker has already brought that. All right, and it's failed. He's totally tone deaf, and he's embarrassing. He's going to get his on the national stage.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. All right, Blaine, let's direct people to the Freedom Caucus. You all are still doing the weekly kind of video cast updates things, which I found really helpful over the last several months.
Yep, we're the beacon of trying to make common sense common again here in Illinois, the Illinois Freedom Caucus. Look us up on Facebook. We got a Twitter. Do a great Substack that comes out every week, and watch our stuff, and find me at Blaine Wilhour on Twitter, and State Representative Blaine Wilhour on Facebook. We're bringing it every day. Good chat with you again, Blaine. Thanks so much. All right. Thanks, guys. All right. 314-912-1019. This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Drag you down and sell you out. Run away.
Did you know that we have a locally owned, independently owned family jewelry store right here in the St. Louis metro region that can create unique pieces for your family members and your loved ones? Newstetter's Fine Jewelers. That's the one we have. Tim Jones here to tell you all about Newstetter's. You can find them 24/7 at wilddiamonds.com. I have been there a multitude of times, along with so many of my family and friends, because Newstetter's is local, family-owned, and provides honest jewelry solutions. They've been doing it for well over 50 years. You can find out everything they've got at wilddiamonds.com. That's Newstetter's Fine Jewelers, wilddiamonds.com.
I'm Danny Cohn, President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis. This past week, the Jewish holiday of Yom HaShoah commemorated the 80th anniversary of the Holocaust and remembered the 6 million Jews who were murdered by the Nazis in World War II. As Jews, when we recall the atrocities of the Holocaust, we say, never again. This is not a slogan or a tagline. It's a responsibility we all share to prevent the systematic hatred from going unchecked. When we work together to fight against prejudice and bigotry towards everyone, we create a better community for everyone.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
Looking to brighten your home and garden? Anthony's Produce has everything blooming. We're bursting with annuals, perennials, tropicals, and gorgeous hanging baskets. And don't forget our fresh fruit and vegetable trays, beautiful fruit bouquets, and chocolate-covered strawberries, made fresh daily. Mother's Day's coming. Place your orders now to show Mom how special she is. We've extended our hours. Now open Monday through Saturday till 6:30 and Sundays till 5. Anthony's Produce on Juggerman and St. Peter's and online at anthonysproduce.com.
Love the music you hear on the morning show? Check out Mike's morning music playlist at NewsTalkSTL.com.
All right. We're getting older, guys.
Oh no. Don't do this to me.
You ever notice that sometimes we hold on to those cool phrases and words longer than we're supposed to?
Oh man.
There's a new list.
This is gonna make me feel ancient, isn't it?
Yeah, there's now an updated list. The slang and the words that we shouldn't be using because they're out of date now.
Okay, no cap.
That is actually not on the list. I to this day I don't know what that means.
It's not a lie.
Yeah. Not a lie.
Mm-hmm.
No cap means not a lie.
Right.
Yes.
I don't know where it came from.
Zoomers.
Well, I know it came from Zoomers. I don't know like where the derivation. Like at the very least, Riz, I understand because it's charisma. Yeah. Like that's where Riz comes from. So I can follow the etymology of that. I have no idea where no cap came from.
It came from a rapper. I can't remember which rapper.
And he just,
but for some reason that was his thing. Is
no
just
cap.
No cap.
No cap.
Yeah.
People, okay. All right.
So somebody asked on Reddit,
are we not allowed to have things be lit anymore?
No, I think lit's actually still okay.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, on this. I mean, the reality is that there are a lot of people who are frankly struggling through this.
We need to provide relief.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
There is help for this though.
Okay. All right.
Oh, there.
Nope.
Yep. There we go. Let me go back here. That there is some help available.
There is some.
Are you or a loved one still saying, "Oh, gnarly"? Word. Or ending sentences with
all that in a bag of chips?
You may be suffering from OSD, outdated slang disorder.
Whatever.
OSD affects thousands.
F.
Mainly those who peaked during Blockbuster's prime.
No way. Wait.
If you've ever described a spreadsheet as
off the chain,
help is available.
True that.
Don't let your lingo be stuck in a time capsule.
Dude.
Talk to your local Gen Z liaison today.
Booyah!
That is so cringe.
Cowabunga.
Cowabunga. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so
eat my shorts.
So gnarly was the number one thing we should stop saying.
Wow. All right.
Is anybody here still saying gnarly?
I don't know anybody who still says gnarly. Maybe that was hanging out still in California someplace. Some aging hippie on the beach someplace still says gnarly.
Stoked. I think I've actually probably been guilty of saying stoked.
I might have said it once, but
stoked.
That was in
that
was in description of somebody else.
Yeah, but it's
I'm not sure
now. John, it's okay.
Oh, that's toke.
Oh, toke.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Come on,
number 3 one.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was just universal. I mean, Socrates used to say sweet. He comes up with a new theory and he's like, sweet.
Well, it's like cool. Cool is outlasted like every other, like everybody's still cool with cool, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Daddy-o.
Cool it, Daddy-o.
Number 4, word.
Okay, that one has been out for a long time.
Yeah, that was kind of dumb when it first started. That was that the Cameo, had Word Up and and so that one was kind of dumb to start with.
Word.
Groovy.
Yeah. Sick, meaning good.
Oh. I'm not sure I've ever used that one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Saying peace instead of goodbye.
Oh.
We're not supposed to do that anymore.
Oh wow, that's my brother-in-law's like whole personality.
See, I do it, but I don't do it to be cool. I mean, like quite literally, like peace be with you.
Oh
no,
yeah.
They're just like you're using it in a more of an in-depth intended way.
That's like old English stuff.
Yeah, this is basically peace.
Yeah.
Peace, dude. Okay, so my daughter's going to disagree with this one in a huge way, dude.
Right.
You can't get rid of dude. The Reddit's wrong.
Yeah, well, see, clearly, dude is one of those universals that can fit in anything.
And with anybody.
With anybody. And also, it, based on inflection, can mean almost anything.
Yeah.
Well, so dude, that one's staying, but dudette, I would say, has definitely gone out of vogue.
Yeah.
Dudette is gone.
I mean, when my daughter, when she was like in college and she's playing, she was on the volleyball team at her college. And they're all talking. It was dude, bro. I'm like, you're all women. And she's like, doesn't matter.
Right.
Okay.
Dude is
she's hanging out with the bros.
Right.
It's a gender neutral term, dude.
It is now.
With multiple meanings.
I agree with number 9. Don't say okie dokie.
Okie dokie.
Don't do that. Yeah.
I feel attacked.
Well, the thing is, it's a deliberate, sort of anachronism to use it, right? Like I haven't heard anybody say it like and mean it like that. Like right. I haven't heard anybody say it like the neighbor from The Simpsons.
Oakley dokley.
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody says it that way, really.
Number 11 is can you dig it? Now, I will say I think we should make an exception for Booker T.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he gets to say it, but nobody else. Or it's thebomb.com.
Oh gosh,
nobody
gone.
said that in a long time.
That feels like that was been gone for decades.
I think so, as it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
I am objecting to number 16 being on this list. I think we should be able to bring back the term whippersnapper.
Yes.
Careful.
Just because it's fun to say.
Yeah.
Another RX Watch, brought to you by Onder Law.
Welcome back to RX Watch. This alert is disturbing.
Right. A while back, we learned that companies like Johnson & Johnson use a mineral called talc in baby powder and other products.
And studies show that talc, when used for feminine hygiene, can cause ovarian cancer.
Now listen to this. RX Watch has learned that the talc they use is being mined in China.
Right, and talc mined in China contains heavy metal contaminants like chromium and magnesium, which are known to cause cancer. But China doesn't care.
So China gets the jobs and we get contaminated talc in our baby powder.
And ovarian cancer.
Right. With their specialized tests, the medical team at Onder Law can help you know if your ovarian cancer was caused by talc.
Onder Law has helped women for years with free and confidential consultation. You need to call Onder Law's pharma attorneys at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
Call Onder Law at 1-800-RX-WATCH.
That's 1-800-RX-WATCH or go to rxwatch.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
NewsTalkSTL.
Download the NewsTalkSTL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
Hey guys, Billy Crow here from Jeffco Patriot Radio. Join us again at high noon this Sunday as we talk with Donna Litton about economic development in Jefferson County, followed by Jennifer Miles from Miles to Explore Travel Agency to talk to us about how to plan the perfect vacation.
Jeffco Patriot Radio.
On NewsTalkSTL.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colony.
Sweet. I'll bring my 500 cousins. This'll be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Wait, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
Don't let uninvited guests throw parties in your home. At All Solutions Pest Control, we stop pest parties before they start. Visit allsolutionspestcontrol.com for your free estimate.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
KLDY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rhett Thomason. The U.S. economy contracted in the first quarter. The gross domestic product shrank for the first time in several years, contracting 0.3% January through March, according to the Commerce Department. President Trump will be meeting with his cabinet today. Last evening, he celebrated day 100 of his second term with a campaign-style rally in Michigan, stressing border security and the economy.
Gasoline prices are down by a lot. Energy prices are down. Mortgage rates actually just went down. Prescription drug prices just saw their largest monthly decline.
The president's agenda depends in no small part on congressional action, and one prominent Arizona lawmaker admits it's not easy finding agreement, even among Republicans.
Congressman Andy Biggs says change is never easy.
When you're making the change and causing the disruption in a status quo town, you're going to have the pushback that we see.
He says sometimes disagreements flare up even between Republicans when they all support President Trump.
Why is it hard? Is because a lot of times your own ox is going to be gored.
Biggs says lawmakers who support change may also have a hard time explaining those changes to voters in their home districts. He spoke with the Salem Radio Network. Bob Agnew reporting.
More Iran nuclear talks on the horizon.
Iran has said the next round of nuclear program negotiations it will have with the United States will be in Rome on Saturday. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi made the comment on Wednesday on the sidelines of a cabinet meeting.
And that's correspondent Karen Chamis reporting. Watching Wall Street, stock futures trending sharply lower following that newly released report on the GDP. Right now, Dow futures down 358 points. And the NASDAQ futures off 361. More on these stories at townhall.com.
You heard the news. Newsmax just went public on the New York Stock Exchange and listed on the big board. Millions of Americans like you are joining our news revolution. Reuters Institute says Newsmax is one of the top 12 news brands in America. Even President Trump says it's terrific. 40 million Americans go to Newsmax, and its audience grew 50% since the same time last year. Millions really are making the switch to Newsmax. If you want to be a Newsmax share owner, call your advisor or get more info at newsmaxinvest.com. Stand with Newsmax today for a strong America. This communication is for informational purposes only, and shall not be intended to or shall not constitute any offer to buy or sell securities, nor shall there be any sale of securities in any jurisdiction in which such offer, solicitation, or sale would be unlawful.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Periods of rain and storms today, including some wet times this morning, but no severe weather in the St. Louis metro this morning. Let's keep an eye on any storms that develop this afternoon and this evening, though. Hail, wind, and isolated tornado possible. Up into the low to mid 70s this afternoon in St. Louis, warmer to the south. So scattered rain and storms this evening and tonight, down to 62 for the low. More scattered storms tomorrow as a cold front passes through. Thursday's high 76. Finally, dry and very nice this weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
The Morning News Dump, brought to you by Common Sense Rentals. Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Gabe Phifer.
There's something serious I have to tell you about the future.
Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
Let's knock it off.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! This is your cousin.
All right. Oh, I got to do some work now.
Oh yeah.
we just get lost in conversation.
We have a very serious news show to run.
That's right.
Very serious.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good God. All right. Let's see here. Chaotic tariff talk continues. But the president's backing off another tariff hammer on somebody. Matter of fact, 820.
Mm-hmm.
I want to bring this up, guys. Did you see this thing with this dust up with Amazon that happened yesterday?
I only just heard about it.
Okay, so this is kind of weird. So 820, I'm interested in people's thoughts. There was a rumor that kind of went around that Amazon was going to start printing, okay, this product went up in price this much because of this tariff.
Right.
And just putting it on there. And Caroline Levitt kind of blows her stack and this is hostile. This is, unpatriotic. This is political. This, and Amazon's like, no, we didn't ever do that, but another report says they thought about it or somebody, remember, you go to any business meeting. Have you ever been in a business meeting where somebody says, hey, there are no dumb ideas, put anything.
Gosh.
Well, that's probably what happened.
Yeah.
And so, but it ended up being in the White House and reports were like, Amazon's going to do this. And Amazon's like, no, we really weren't, or we decided not to, or whatever the case is, it's not happening, but it made a big deal. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, why did the administration kind of freak out over the idea of printing this cost went up because of this tariff?
Right.
Yeah. Now, if they were to do something like that, which I don't think would necessarily be to anybody's benefit unless trying to make a political point, I would actually love to see Amazon have a Made in America featured thing where it, how they have like the daily deals and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I would love if they had a tag like this product is made in America, therefore exempt from tariffs.
Yeah,
by American.
That could be too. All right, let's talk about that 820. Let's follow up there as well. Because you got transparency and then you've got the whole other thing. Yeah. Also, let's see here. The UFL takes action against a player who slapped a fan at the Dome last weekend. 8:07 right now. Let's go ahead and do another news dump here.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news. The morning news dump.
All right, heads up on the weather. You probably noticed it's raining right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's happening. Another round of rain moving through the metro area, basically throughout rush hour. So be extra careful. We could see some storms this afternoon. Now, Channel 4 is telling us there's a chance of severe storms moving into the evening. Rain is expected to continue through tomorrow as well, which means my old man baseball game tomorrow evening is very unlikely at this point.
Sorry.
So O'Fallon, Illinois, I probably will not be visiting you tomorrow, but we'll see.
All
right. President Trump relaxing some of his 25% tariffs on automobiles and auto parts. Here's the story.
After hearing from auto CEOs worried about the negative impact of tariffs, the Trump administration is dialing back some of the import taxes on vehicles and parts. The president said it's a move giving automakers more time to move productions into the U.S.
I'm giving them a little bit of a break, right?
Automakers that finish their vehicles domestically will receive a 15% rebate this year, offsetting the cost of the tariffs. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Well, offsetting the cost of some of the tariffs there as well. But this is just absolute chaotic. And that's why the more that I hear about this, guys, the more I think, you know what, Rand Paul is right. Congress needs to reclaim that authority to be the ones to do the final approval of the tariffs. I mean, if you're going to use this as a trading tool, it can't be this chaotic. This is just nuts.
Yeah, I think the thing is, it would probably play out a little differently if this was Trump rhetoric about tariffs. It's like, here's the tariffs that the level of tariffs that I would be requesting of Congress come the new budget cycle. And that would be a different tone that would be taken a completely different way by the market than how it is now, in which he could, basically pen in a phone, change the tariff tomorrow. I think that's kind of what's breeding the chaos. So basically just having the cooling saucer of Congress,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Oddly enough, would help stem the chaotic nature, I think, of the impacts of the tariffs on the economy.
Yeah. The shock and awe is not the initial try to get everybody to the table. That's sort of wearing off. Now it's a matter of a big, soiree of craziness at this point. All right. The Missouri Supreme Court says Prop A stays. That means the minimum wage in the state is going to be accelerated, rising to $15 an hour by next year. I think it's immediately being bumped up to like $13.75 or something like that at this point. And starting tomorrow, employers will be required to provide paid time off for basically all employees, part-time or full-time. Multiple business advocacy groups sued to have the new law struck down. They were arguing that the cost estimate was wrong and the ballot summary was misleading. The court rejected that. Voters approved the measure with 58% of the vote. State lawmakers being led, basically the Republicans in the legislature, are trying to pass a law to negate a lot of Prop A, especially that paid time off part of it right there, which they can do because this wasn't a constitutional amendment. This was a referendum. So they can change that. That is better policy, but it's also very, very tricky when you're taking something that 58% of the public voted on and passed it, and then just basically saying, no, we're going to undo that. So voters made a bad decision. There's no doubt about that, but voters pretty overwhelmingly voted on it, knowing what they're voting on, even though they didn't think about what the consequences were going to be for this. So it's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens the next few weeks in the legislature. All right. Elon Musk expected to leave Doge next month. That's after the agency says it's spotlighted and caused about $160 billion in cuts from the federal government. And I'm careful how I say that, because remember, Doge doesn't have any authority to cut anything.
Right.
But they say the things that they have found have ended up in through executive action and some other things, about $160 billion in those cuts. In a speech on the Senate floor, going after Donald Trump and all of his minions after 100 days in office, Senate Minority Leader Chucky Schumer criticizes the administration's firing of employees across the federal government.
We declare today and every day until justice
is
established.
I got to get to that one in just a minute here. Senator Chuck Schumer, here's what he had to say.
Only an administration that exhibits a meanness, almost a viciousness, would do it. But that's what Trump, Doge, and Musk and all their henchmen who work there are doing.
I count me in the Doge henchman camp.
Same
on that. I'm okay with that.
I might print a t-shirt.
That's right. Doge henchman.
Doge henchman.
The Doge father.
The Doge father.
Elon Musk said that he wanted to see, through the work of Doge, $2 trillion cut from federal government spending. It looks pretty clear to me that that is not going to happen, that they are not going to make that goal. They're going to fall short.
They're only about 10% in right now. And that's so they don't have that much time remaining. Like when was the deadline? I think
it's like next July or
next July.
Not this July.
So they've had 100 days so far. They've got the next July is how many? It's another 300. Let's say another 300 days.
Yeah.
Even if they kept pace, it's a very minimal impact.
Yeah, but to their credit, with what we can prove via receipts and actual logs, it comes out to about $360 per taxpayer.
All right,
that has been saved so far in just 100 days.
That's a good point.
It's not where we would love to see it, but it is still a good start.
It's better than it was before. But my fear is that basically they've run into the wall of the establishment and they got eaten by it. So, all right. Oregon, U.S. Senator Jeff Merkley, who's a Democrat, he is pushing to reintroduce what's called the Equality Act. He did that this week. The Equality Act would amend the Civil Rights Act of 1964. The Civil Rights Act, remind me, Gabe, who is that designed to protect?
My people.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Minorities and women. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the new Equality Act, if passed, would ban any discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity.
Wait a minute.
It's the same thing.
It is not the same thing. Stop it. Look,
Bruce wants to be Caitlin. It's the same thing as discriminating against somebody because they're black. It's the same thing.
We were trying to realize the dream of Martin Luther King, not Martin Luther Queen. Okay, so just relax with all that.
Oh my goodness. Senator Cory Booker spoke at a press conference regarding this.
We declare today and every day until justice is established in this land, until the Equality Act passes, we declare that we, the people, will grab hold of that arc and pull and bend it until we live up to our promise in a country and truly are free at last, free at last.
You see?
Free at last.
You see?
Wow.
Free at last, because what that really means is a dude walking around in a dress going into a girl's bathroom.
I'm sure
that's what free at last means.
I'm sure that's what the founders meant. That's what Martin Luther King meant. That is the promise of America. that you can put on a dress and a wig and go into the ladies' locker room.
Good God.
See, so I really don't want to see what their Rosa Parks is going to look like.
Yeah,
It's going
really.
to be somebody in drag in a handicap stall.
Yeah.
Believer.
I mean, my God. The thing is, like, this is one of those times, like, I just hate those FCC rules that don't allow me to use the words that I am thinking.
We'll have
right
to do an
now.
off the record show.
Oh, at some point, we do, oh God. Okay.
Wait for the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Wait for the podcast. A suspension handed down for the slap heard round the dome. Michigan Panthers wide receiver Samson Nakua is suspended without pay for 1 game after slapping a fan last Saturday following their loss to the Battlehawks in St. Louis. The UFL says Nakua will also participate in community service events later this season. And I suspect somebody's saying, man, 1 game, who cares? That's not a big deal. Actually, that's going to be like 10% of his entire income that he loses.
Yeah. Imagine having 10% of your current pay docked.
You've got a 10-week season. And so that's 10% that he's losing of it. All right. Game night for the Blues with the playoff series tied at 2 games apiece. We're down to 3 games at most with the Jets. Tonight's game is in Winnipeg. Puck drops at 8:30. You can catch that one on ESPN. Cardinals and Reds rained out in Cincy on Tuesday, so they're going to play 2 today. The makeup game starts at 11:40 this morning. Miles Michaelis on the bump for that one. Later today, they're going to play at 5:40 for the regularly scheduled game, and both of those games are on FanDuel.
One step apart, no destination, making cold mind to fight your war.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
This is like giving you a bowl of doggy do, put a cherry on top and call it a chocolate sundae.
On News Talk STL.
Before you blow us all away.
Spring is sprung at Daniel's Farming Greenhouses on Joggerman and St. Peters. Discover our breathtaking 55,000 square feet of greenhouses featuring 8,000 hanging baskets, hundreds of perennials, and 100,000 pots of colorful annuals. From vegetable plants to premium grass seed, mulch to herbs, our knowledgeable staff is ready to answer all your questions. Start spring off right with pansies, potted tulips, and everything your garden craves. Daniel's Farming Greenhouses. Visit us today on Joggerman or online at danielsfarminggreenhouses.com.
McGuire Moving is Silver certified, which means they are great at relocating senior citizens. In fact, McGuire is a household name because McGuire understands the stress involved when moving older adults. So if you or family members need help moving, I highly recommend McGuire Moving. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. Get a free in-home estimate. McGuireMoving.com.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
I really like all the things you're saying.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you very, very much.
News Talk STL.
Hey, folks, Jamie Allman here, waiting for you for the 3 Martini Lunch, the Common Sense Radio, the Allman Report on News Talk STL. Now back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Good Lord. I walk away from the Rumble chat box for like 3 minutes.
It's gone to pot.
It's gone. It's just gone nuts in there. So, jeez.
You guys are hilarious, though. I mean, I got to hand it to you.
All right. Follow up that we've got. Okay, so
Yeah.
now which department was it? Which
Homeland Security.
Okay, so Department of Homeland Security goes on I guess X goes on Twitter. And they were responding to these misleading, I'm not going to say misleading, dishonest headlines.
Yes, because
from
we
the
were talking
mainstream
about
media. Right. We talk because we set the record straight here, we hope, on this whole did Donald Trump actually deport a 2-year-old American citizen, you know, as
Yes,
though
he did.
Yeah, as though he went,
He himself.
So what?
as him personally,
Yeah.
the orange man went and found a toddler.
So run at random.
Yeah, just yanked her by the hand and threw her over the border.
Yep.
And which is not what happened, but somebody at Homeland Security, you know, took real issue with this because that did not. Once the facts came out, that did not stop the media from continuing to exacerbate the lie, because the framework does damage. Even if people are wrong, the believing the wrong thing still does damage.
Right, absolutely. Because the CNN headline that's being discussed here, it says federal judge says 2-year-old U.S. citizen was deported with mother to Honduras.
Right.
So that's kind of, this is their out. This is CNN's out. It's like, well, the federal judge, we're just reporting on what the federal judge said.
Yeah.
The federal judge said it.
Technically,
technically,
that's like you become kid lawyer.
Yes,
again
yeah,
when you're
we're going
like
back to kid lawyer.
5, you know.
Yes, exactly.
It's like I told you not to take the cookie out of the jar. Well, technically, the cookie was on the counter.
Right, exactly.
So I didn't disobey you.
Technically, I found the cookies in the drawer. So
Right.
technically, they weren't covered under your directive, mother.
My sister's the one who took it out. I didn't do it.
Once my sister had gotten it out, it was technically free.
Yeah.
For all. Right.
That's the same level of intelligence being used by CNN right
Kid
now.
lawyer right now. So Homeland Security took umbrage at this, and they posted a screenshot of that headline. It says, once again, the media is peddling a false narrative to demonize our ICE enforcement agents. And of course, they basically, you know, relayed the same thing that we talked about, that, you know, basically having read the actual accounts of what happened, Homeland Security issued a deportation order, actually, and they've got dates on, they got receipts on this thing. The deportation order for this lady was issued in 2020. 2020.
Wow.
So in the meantime, she had a kid. And 2 years later, they finally got around to catching her and enforcing the deportation order.
Yep.
Now, and ICE didn't just, you know, grab her and her child up, wrap them in duct tape, and send them via Amazon back to Ecuador. They said, you know, they gave her the choice. It's like, what do you want to do with your child? You are going back to Ecuador according to this order, which was issued
prior to her birth,
3 years before your child was born.
This is as much of a definition of an anchor baby as you could possibly find.
Absolutely. And the left is kind of falling right into that trap. So the idea is, okay, you're getting deported. That's not going to change. What do you want to happen to your child? And of course, the woman said, I want to take my child with me. That's her choice.
That's her right.
She could have left U.S. citizen baby that everybody's decrying with a safe and trusted individual that she specifically designates in America. She could have done that, but she chose not to. So now we've got people responding to this thread, by the way, as well. They're like, oh, well, now you guys are like human traffickers. It's like,
that's the danger of believing the false narrative. That's so the danger of the framing.
It's so okay. So if this woman had freely gone back to Ecuador with her U.S. citizen baby to visit family, would she have been trafficking her child across the? No, this is a woman acting, making a decision about where her child is going to live. We believe in that, but the thing is, she can't decide to live in this country herself. Absent our laws.
And I just want to put back on the record that the father of the child, who is allegedly a U.S. citizen, offered to say, hey, I will keep the child with me in America. And she said, no, the child's coming with me. And the court said, okay, mother, we're going to give you that right. So literally, what are you mad at?
Right.
This is the decision. And they have nothing better to do than spin the story.
Okay. So I spent a big part of my career being a journalist. Okay. So let me talk about the journalism aspect of that. When you basically, you said the media is like, well, we're just reporting that the judge said it, therefore we're clear. That is how they think, but that is not what you're taught when you're learning journalism. Now I can't speak for what they're teaching now, but I can speak for what they were teaching, almost 30 years ago, 25 years ago. And that was, there's not only the denotative, because is CNN technically correct if they say We're just reporting on what the judge said. Yes.
Right.
Denotatively, that's correct. But the connotation is, what are people going to understand? And they know darn well that what people are going to read is Donald Trump deported a 2-year-old American citizen. They know what they're putting out there. So the accurate thing to do would be include what the judge says. I mean, that's fine to put that in the story because that's multiple perspectives on it. But the end result is that the mother was deported and she made that choice. Now you can try to pitch that as a sad outcome of the Trump administration's policy, whatever you want to do. However, when you are, it's not even a lie by omission. It is a lie by de-emphasis and really a lie by misrepresentation.
By implication. Yeah.
Implication, yeah.
I had to take journalism courses and writing courses as well. So I want to confirm that absolutely what they're teaching is to write headlines in the most provocative, clickbaity way. So it's not accidental that the headlines say 2-year-old deported by Trump. How dare you?
American citizen.
Exactly. Yeah, about a 2-year-old American citizen. You said this wouldn't happen, MAGA. It's not an accident that happens. It is intentional because on the best case scenario for them is that you're like, and you click on it and you get them the revenue. Right. And worst case scenario, which is still to benefit them, is that all you see is a headline, and now you're going to go and share with all your MAGA, Trump, Republican, conservative friends and say, see, this is what the news says. And then most people are not going to read the article, so they're not going to see that, well, here's the actual fine print is not technically true.
Right. And that's the thing is, though,
there's a little asterisk at the bottom, not technically
because
true.
what you're supposed to do if you're looking for journalism, if you want to do a journalism, then what you're supposed to do, the goal is to leave the reader or the viewer or the listener with an accurate understanding of what actually happened. And that is what we are not seeing right now. Now we're seeing them go back and try to basically correct it to some degree,
sort of,
because they got called out on it. It's the difference between I'm sorry I lied versus I'm sorry I got caught and now you're mad at me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the reaction that we're seeing on this. So you can say something that is technically free of inaccuracies.
That's very good way of saying that.
Technically free of inaccuracies and still be wrong and misleading and dishonest.
So lying by omission is still lying. But would you go as far as to say that this is intentional doublespeak? I'm saying this, but I'm saying it in a way to where you would interpret it intentionally this way.
Yeah.
Which, because I do feel like, doublespeak, it's not technically lying. It's just, I'm going to give you the most generalized reductionist view of just, instead of saying it's raining, you could just say, oh, it's wet outside.
Well, go back to what you just said a second ago. You actually touched on it right kind of in the middle of all that with the knowing the way people are going to understand it.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the biggest point right there is, CNN, these are not dumb people. Okay. Listen, most of our opponents are not stupid people. This is not a matter of intelligence.
They believe stupid things, but they're not stupid.
They have terrible ideas, but it's not, these are not dumb people. They know the impression people are going to take from it. So you can sit there and go, well, let's go word by word and have that. But the bottom line is they know what they're doing when they misrepresent. And then they still wonder why so many Americans do not trust anything from basically any media. Essentially what we're doing right now is, it comes from this source, therefore I discount it. It comes from this source, therefore I believe it.
Yes.
That's how we do it now. And that's dangerous, but we have to do it. We're reacting logically to years and years and years, decades, I would argue, of bias and misrepresentation and activism under the name of journalism. Basically, no journalism exists anymore.
Except for News Talk STL, your live and local non-source race.
Here's the thing though, is that we come to, we tell you we're conservative. There are conservative shows, there are MAGA shows, there are Republican shows. We've got a big mix of things, but we tell you where we're coming from.
Absolutely.
Now my goal is to give you the accurate information, then give you my take on it. And sometimes we agree in the room, sometimes we don't. And sometimes we agree with people who are listening and people call in and debate me or say they think I'm right or whatever the case is. But the bottom line is that it's not a valid conversation if I'm not telling you the truth. I've got a market incentive to try my best to tell you the truth, in addition to hopefully just it being the right thing to do.
Yeah, I would argue that what you guys do, you take objective information, or as objective as possible information, and then you explain it from the perspective versus modifying what's being said to fit a conservative narrative, so to speak. And that's where I think the headline issue comes, and our chat agrees. I mean, why is that allowed? I know freedom of the press, freedom of speech, all that stuff, but when you have the authority and the obligation as an authority to try to actually get the information out, now you can still say, well, as a liberal or as a conservative or as an anarchist, I believe this. But why is it acceptable within this sort of realm to phrase things in a way, knowing your audience, the majority, because you have the metrics, you know who's clicking on it. Why is that acceptable and tolerated?
Well, I mean, but I will tell you that the market is saying that for a lot of people, it's not. For instance, would there be a Newsmax? Would there be, Red State and the burden, the sort of blossoming Red State radio that's coming out of St. Louis now? I mean, would Fox News have ever been invented if there weren't all of this, if CNN,
a recognition of
if CNN had not made the decision to go fall off to the left, would Fox News have ever been founded? And then Fox News has had its eras of, and then eras of great. But would Newsmax have ever, grown the way that it's grown? Would some of these streaming, Salem Network and all of these, would all of these have been there if there weren't a market demand for it?
So just so I can contextualize for myself, are you more in the camp of it is the company responding to how the consumer interacts rather than they are intentionally trying to mislead their consumers?
No, CNN's trying to mislead the consumers. And I think that all of the reaction and competition to it is filling a market demand, because CNN and, fill in all the blank, USA Today, NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC. I mean, you can just go down the line, The Hill, you name it. But now I think more competition is a good thing. But what we're also seeing is that right or left, people say they just want unbiased news. I don't think people do. And I'm not a journalist anymore. I don't refer to myself as a journalist anymore. I come to it with my perspective and tell you what it is up front. Now I'm telling you, I'm pledging right now. I'm trying to tell you the truth the best I can determine it. But I'm not saying I never screw it up. I mean, I've gotten it wrong and I've had to apologize before, and I'll do it again. I'll apologize in the future too when I get it wrong. But the bottom line is that when you say you're a journalist, that used to mean something, and it doesn't mean squat anymore. Yeah, it doesn't mean excrement anymore. Thank you, Rumble Chatbot.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Periods of rain and storms today, including some wet times this morning, but no severe weather in the St. Louis metro this morning. Let's keep an eye on any storms that develop this afternoon and this evening, though. Hail, wind, and isolated tornado possible. Up into the low to mid 70s this afternoon in St. Louis, warmer to the south. So scattered rain and storms this evening and tonight, down to 62 for the low. More scattered storms tomorrow as a cold front passes through. Thursday's high 76. Finally, dry and very nice this weekend. At your first alert forecast, I'm meteorologist Matt Chambers.
News commentary.
Oh no, Kennedy Center LGBTQ pride celebrations have been canceled. Whatever will we do if the sexual preferences of some aren't celebrated by all? I'm Tommy Laren. More next.
Something amazing is happening when power outages strike. Teams are powering through them. That's because CDW Solutions architects are building more resilient IT and electrical infrastructures with Schneider Electric. With EcoCare remote monitoring services and 24/7 support, your organization can do more than keep the lights on. Schneider Electric and CDW make amazing happen. Learn more at cdw.com/Schneider Electric.
Weeks worth of LGBTQ pride events scheduled to take place at the Kennedy Center have been canceled, but it wasn't President Trump that did the canceling. Event organizers did it on their own due to the shift in attitude at the Kennedy Center. They're especially perturbed that President Trump fired the president and chairman of the center in February and was then elected the new chairman after most of the board was replaced. Given that and the overall vibe, Washington's Capital Pride Alliance has disassociated itself from the Kennedy Center. They've moved their events to other venues, and they apparently want you and I to cry over it. Spoiler alert, we aren't. Nobody forced you to move your events. Many of us find it rather indulgent that the Pride community expects a month or more of the forced celebration of the sexual preferences of some. Weird. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Tim Jones here from my great friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. How do I know? Simply put, they've helped me on many occasions. Here's another solution to your everyday aches and pains. The Studio Health and Wellness Center. Services include Pilates and yoga, both with certified instructors. I can also highly recommend the massage therapy, which is not an indulgence. It's a proven method of healing and restoration. Trust my friends at Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
I'm Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey. Human trafficking is occurring right here in Missouri. You can help combat it by learning the signs of human trafficking and reporting suspicious activity to law enforcement. Victims may appear malnourished, show signs of mental or physical abuse, or avoid social interaction. If you're a victim or know someone who needs help, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888 or text the word HELP to Be Free. Together, we can fight human trafficking in Missouri.
Brought to you by the Missouri Attorney General's Office.
Jamie Allman here, tossing and turning over retirement worries. You're not alone. 3 out of 4 Americans share your concern about having enough saved. But here's the thing. A comfortable retirement isn't out of reach, even if you're planning for 30 or 40 years ahead. Every day, Jeff Portman from the Gemini Wealth Group helps people avoid the critical mistakes that can derail their retirement. Build your path to financial confidence. Visit GeminiWealthGroup.com or call Jeff directly at 314-888-0123.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member FINRA, SIPC.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the Morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Company, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this dysfunctional radio station. It's the Right Mind Show with me, Todd Showalter, at 5 on Saturday. And, you know, speaking of dysfunctional, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Did you see this dust up with Amazon in the White House yesterday?
No.
This was so weird. I mean, and the funny part is speaking of media that, you know, can't seem to get stuff right. I've seen reports that say Amazon had made a decision to display the cost of the Trump tariffs next to the total pricing of products, either online or on the box. Then I've seen reports that say that was never going to happen. And Amazon says, we never did that. We never. And then another one said, well, somebody talked about it. They discussed it, but they decided not to do it. Of course, Caroline Leavitt was asked about this, and she said it was hostile and political, and she had like her angry face on, which is like she's like 26 or 27. I mean, you don't scare anybody when you're that young and do your angry face on it, but whatever. And so it was funny but the White House really reacted in a very animated way towards this. And I guess my question is why? I mean, other than if you were to put that cost on there, it shows you who you could potentially be mad at. I mean, when I get my utility bill each month, it itemizes out the cost, and it makes me angry at City Hall for all these extra fees that I get on there. When you go buy something at the store and you look at your receipt, everything is printed out on there. We know that tariffs raise the cost of goods.
Yes.
Period.
I mean, that's what President Trump is trying to do, is raise the cost of goods to the point where you don't buy them if they're from somewhere else. Now, I've got a big economic difference on that. I don't like the tactic. I don't like tariffs. I've got too much knowledge of economics to go along with that. But right here, what was talked about is, hey, Amazon's going to actually print that cost. And some people in the White House kind of lose their stuff. The president calls Jeff Bezos. He goes, well, Bezos took care of the problem. I don't know that there was ever actually a problem, but the reaction to me is kind of interesting as well. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if they did display that somewhere, then why would that have been that big of a deal, other than it would be a constant reminder that the tariffs are actually passed on to us and we're the ones who actually pay it.
Yeah, I have seen screenshots, and I can't confirm, one, if they're legitimate, or two, which services,
Yeah.
but I have seen screenshots of people where they are seeing their, bill on something, and then it's like extra charge tariffs, right?
Yeah.
Now, I agree entirely. I think that that's on the one hand, because I'm a big transparency guy. I want to know what I'm eating. I want to know where my money's going, and it is that sort of thing. I did support Trump over Harris, obviously.
Sure,
I mean, that
yeah.
was a no
That's
contest,
yeah,
but at the same time, I think that the outrage comes from people that don't like the idea of their opposition having any sort of validation for something that they were saying. So even though you know what, well, I mean, I don't know how many people actually know what tariffs are, despite our best efforts, but you know that tariffs are going to increase prices on certain things, and it could be the thing where it's like you didn't know that something you enjoyed was being shipped from overseas, and then now you have to pay extra on it, and somebody that you don't like, or somebody that's in your family that's a big know-it-all, is like, see, that's the tariffs, it costs more, and you just don't want to deal with that. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like I would support having that tariff added, because that would be a great way of finding American businesses. If you don't see a tariff cost.
Okay, so I want to follow up on that. I'm looking at USA Today's article on it right now. It's they're doing the thing that Gabe was saying just a second ago. It said, according to news officials, what's a news official? Whatever according to news officials, an Amazon spokesperson who's not even named later told CNBC. So you've got all of these layers of somebody told somebody. We're just reporting with somebody told somebody. But anyway, the spokesperson, yeah, that's right, the REO Speedway. An Amazon spokesperson later told CNBC that the company was only considering listing tariff charges on some products for Amazon Haul, the budget focus section of their online business. And the quote here, the spokesperson, the unnamed spokesperson, the team that runs our ultra low cost Amazon Haul store has considered listing import charges on certain products. This was never a consideration for the main Amazon site, and nothing has been implemented on any Amazon property, which is why the inexperienced spokesperson in Caroline Levitt's going off half cocked was a mistake, because now people are going, oh, Amazon was going to print the tariff cost on that. Well, they're saying, no, that isn't. But you wonder why you buy something for $19.99, but you come out to paying $26. You normally look for a receipt, or we just kind of assume it's there. But now let's talk about the transparency thing. When you look at the cost, because it's a tax. It's like anything else. I mean, I buy something, whether whatever city you're in, there's like a city tax and all this kind of stuff. You print it. I don't know why that would be any different, but when you see the reaction that we got out of the White House, that should tell them something about the tariffs, in addition to telling the rest of us something. If you're saying it's hostile and it's political and it's wrong, it's propaganda, for you to print something that's accurate.
And that's the thing, is that it's people that view things mostly through the lens of political affiliation, and not through reality. I mean, we're obviously very political people. Otherwise, we wouldn't talk on a political talk show. But at the same time, you have to be able to separate that lens from what goes on. You can't sit there. I mean, okay, DoorDash, great example,
right?
Because you will find a $5 food item and it costs you $20 to get it somehow. And you're like, here's $4 for the tip, and here's a couple dollars, but then service fee, taxes again, the delivery charge, surcharge, whatever. And that's why I don't use DoorDash. It's not that, because you can accidentally keep overpaying for food until you break it down, look at it, and say, I'm not paying all this money, when most of that doesn't even go to the driver or the restaurant. So
yeah, the bottom line is, I just want to sit around my house in my underwear. Is it worth paying the extra to have somebody bring that to me so I don't have to put pants on and drive to the restaurant?
Yeah. And so I think a lot of people, at least the people I've talked to, that were super diehard pro-tariff people, and I'm still not fully against them. I just think that they should have been handled a little, like we should have gotten rid of income tax first. We should have actually gotten the domestic production here first and then done the tariffs. However, there are people that I think they thought the tariff was just going to hit, but the price of the object was going to stay the same. Now it's just the company has to pay more for it. That's not how business or economics.
It's overhead.
It's not worked that way in well over 100 years, because people are going to say, well, now I have to pay more to import the stuff. Well, shoot, you guys can pay for it if you want it. So I don't know. I do think that I want to say, I do hope that there is consideration to saying this is American made, no tariff, and then bolster U.S. companies. I think that would be an actual good solution, and that would be a win for everybody, because the people that are not fans of tariffs, well, you can still buy American and save on that.
Well, that could be a good marketing thing as well. I mean, Amazon's an international company.
Yeah.
But if you were to do that basically everywhere, let's say that you live in, I don't know, Italy. And if they were to print something that said Italian made for people who are buying in Italy, no tariff additional cost, that'd probably be something that they might appeal to them. Just like here in the US, American made here, a lot of people look for that. It's just not that many products made here.
And then on the side of my international friends, there are a lot of people that like our stuff is tariffed over there, and they did not realize until the tariff war happened how many countries are tariffing us for our stuff. So maybe that would be actually a good way of showing people too, like, well, I'm buying this, it's American made, but it's costing me X amount because of I can't remember, there's another tax that they put on US goods, and
probably a VAT.
Yeah, that's what it is. So maybe that's a better way of consumer protection. If you don't want to pay the extra for something, you can say, well, maybe I don't need this brand. Maybe I can find something comparable that's cheaper. And now I know why this costs more. It's not just a better quality product.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, the transparency, is good there. Lowering taxes and lowering trade barriers is even better.
Fair
and
enough.
it's better for everybody to do that. All right. 314-912-1019. I just thought the reaction was, it was, I know that her soundbite is like getting a lot of, yeah, you go get them, kind of stuff. And I'm like, that was kind of inexperienced. The right answer would have been, they didn't implement that. There's no, what do you want me to react to? There's nothing here. They haven't done that.
Womp womp.
Yeah.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I have smelled alcohol on your breath. Anything else?
No.
No.
No. Besides my meds.
On News Talk STL.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
Attention St. Charles, looking for a local spot that satisfies all your cravings? Mario's Donut Restaurant is your place to go for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. From mouth-watering sandwiches and omelets to delicious gyros, Mexican dishes, salads, and wraps, we've got it all. And don't forget our famous donuts. They're so good, they'll make your eyes glaze over. Dine in or carry out, our friendly staff is ready to serve you with love and care. Mention News Talk STL when you visit. Call 636-447-4515 or visit mariosdonutrestaurant.com.
Mom deserves something special this Mother's Day, and News Talk STL wants to help make it happen.
Come give your mama a kiss.
Register now for your chance to win amazing prizes for Mom, including gift cards from Canditi's Catering and Express, Roman T. Jewelers, Freddy's Market, and Mario's Donut Restaurant.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Winners will be notified by email May 8, just in time for Mother's Day. Register now at newstalkstl.com or via the new News Talk STL mobile app. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
If Congress fails to pass the big, beautiful bill, you could see your tax bill jump by over $3,000. Phil Kerpen of American Commitment will join us at 5:20 to explain.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Hey, it's Vic and Ken. We're on every Monday through Friday on News Talk STL. Kenny, how are you?
I'm good.
You know, you got to be some kind of weirdo to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do radio.
Do, believe me.
And that weirdo is Mike Ferguson in the morning show on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I want to extend some condolences to Vic Porcelli.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because yesterday he was, as we were making the switch out here, because obviously we're going to turn things over to him here in about 10 minutes or so. And he was walking in the studio, and I'm walking out, and he just looked tired.
Oh no.
Had his coffee, as we do here. And I'm like, Vic, man, you okay? You just look tired. He goes, I had to get up at 7 a.m. Really, Vic? Really?
Well, he's Italian, so maybe that's like 3 a.m. for them. I don't know.
And I'm like, my condolences, Vic.
Yeah, no, that's that, and that's the interesting thing about working. I mean, I can't even complain because you're here probably like 3 hours before I am, and I'm already here at like 5 a.m. But
you get in, you get in about then. I try to be here between 3:15 and 3:30.
Yeah, so I can't even really complain. But yeah, that's the thing about working on the show is that you hear about, like, I literally, when I'm not here, and I sleep in, I'm like, wow, it's 7 a.m. Like I get to sleep in, it's 7:30, 8 a.m. I get to sleep in for once. And you're out there playing old man baseball.
Well, yeah. And I'm supposed to have a game tomorrow in O'Fallon, Illinois over at Blazer Field, but man, looking at this weather forecast, I'm questioning whether that's going to happen or not. Looks like they say we could get a severe storm maybe later on today, but it doesn't look like anything that's too crazy or anything like that. But I haven't been outside in the last several minutes, but it was raining pretty hard a little bit ago. And it looks like that's going to continue through. Yeah, I mean, rush hours, going to go on for a little bit longer, but that, and then it's going to taper off, and then it looks like we're going to get into the round a little bit later after that.
Which means, like we should have learned during the quote unquote snowmageddon, make sure that you are driving appropriately for the weather conditions, because I know a lot of people out there, for some reason, you just keep hearing the brakes squealing. You see these tires that are going bald, and it's like, get on that, people. Come on.
Yeah, really. Exactly. To do that. Yeah. All right. Let me wrap up here with some really good news that's coming out of a tragic situation here. We remember the story from back in August of Officer Travis Brown. Everybody calls him TJ, who knows him. And he is the Ferguson police officer who suffered a traumatic brain injury at the hands of these, basically thuggish animals. Who were the Michael Brown inspired protesters and the BLM, supporting protesters. And by the way, this was a mix of people. This was white leftists, black leftists, they were all involved in this. And when they were attacking the Ferguson Police Department and they started attacking police officers, he ended up on the ground and ended up with his head being slammed into the concrete and suffered that brain injury.
Which, just to add extra context, the police at this point, when this was going on, they had already blocked off traffic to allow them to march. There had been no other altercations. It wasn't like they, they were macing everybody and it was a self-defense. It was literally, they were trying to stand aside. The people that were there wanted to cause extra incidences and went out of their way to harass the people that are the exact type of cops that keep claiming that they want to have in law enforcement.
Yeah. And so he was in a coma for a long time. We were covering that story very, very extensively, but we in the media always, we want to cover the stuff that will make you mad, and it was important that we covered that story. But now his family is reporting that he's had a partial recovery.
Ooh.
And this is remarkable. Now, is he ever going to be back on the police force? No. Is he ever going to have a normal life? No. That's all been stolen from him by these scumbags. So they said that he has actually said some words. He's actually spoken. He's actually communicated, which they didn't know was ever going to be possible again. And he's able to move in his motorized wheelchair. He's basically at a rehab specialty facility in Atlanta right now, which is where he's been for quite a while. So the fact that he's able to do this is frankly more than what was possible. I mean, what they thought was going to be possible. So it's almost miraculous that Officer Brown is able to do this. Now he's likely going to have limited mobility the rest of his life. Hopefully there will still be some gains, but the rest of his life, and he's only 37.
All thanks to the tolerant, peaceful leftists. It was a mostly peaceful protest, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Right.
Ruining a man's life like that because you have no critical thinking skills.
Right. There's or the worst case scenario is you do have him and just made evil decisions.
And you're just a horrible, rotten human being.
Yes. And there's a picture in I don't know if this is Channel 2's or Channel 4. They all covered it. There's a photograph that was provided by the family. He's in his wheelchair and he's holding the basketball, and you see the pictures from before and after, because I've seen the before pictures when he was on the force. I mean, we're talking tough, fit guy, and the muscle atrophy is really, really sad. However, he's got what he can, as much of a smile as he can on his face. I mean, it looks like there's some paralysis and things like that, but his family is really thanking everybody. There is a GoFundMe that is set up for Officer Brown and his family. I've donated to
I'm going to donate today.
Yeah,
now that I know that.
Yep, I've already done that. So go to KTVI's website has a link to that, so you've got the accurate one there as well. But because the insurance and the benefits and everything will cover a lot of this, but it's not going to cover everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of his life, he's going to need he and his family are going to need some assistance out even beyond what the benefits are. So, I feel even better about donating, through that one. But yeah, so that's good news. It comes out of a tragic situation. It still reminds us why we fight so hard for the things that are right.
And then, and I'm trying not to get too worked up here, but when I first found out about the situation and what was going on and the type of person he was, everything I could find was he
still is.
Yeah, well, that's still going on, but he is the exact type of officer that people would want. He wanted to serve his community. He didn't want to be an authoritarian, bossing people around, whatever kind of person. Everybody had nothing but great things to say about him, and this is the way that he gets repaid. And now, so for anybody out there wondering, why do we have so many cops that are so quick to resort in violence? Because people do this to the good cops.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And, it's and the those who've been arrested still face very serious charges. Hopefully they get locked up I don't know what the law allows, but whatever the maximum is, that's what we lock him up for.
Do the same thing to them that they did to him.
That would be justice.
That would be actual justice.
We don't allow that, but that would be justice in every sense of the word, in my opinion. I don't have an argument with that. Just the law doesn't let us do that.
Yeah, no, and that's a shame. Our culture, we are too soft on people that contribute nothing to society, that do nothing of benefit for anybody else, and then take away from those that actually try to.
Yeah, I mean, the idea is we are better than them and we act better than them. And I appreciate that, because we don't want mob justice, in many cases.
I plead the fifth.
Anyway, on that. All right, Vic Porcelli coming your way. Hopefully well rested.
Yeah. Hopefully he got to sleep until
got his sleep
7:05
as well. Hit that snooze button so he's raring to go.
Then he won't be a weirdo like us.